Chapter 299. Passing through the ruins and walking inside. Exine Feng's heart trembled at the sight of it. There were countless marks on the ground. He didn't know what caused them, but they crisscrossed, as if someone had scratched a piece of tofu with their claws. Lei Xingfeng said, "The battle must have been intense. There seem to be a lot of bones. A lot of people must have died here." Wu Yang said, "That's right. In fact, this place is worth looking through. Someone once found a lot of good stuff here, but too much time has passed, and many things have rotted away." Lei Xingfeng said, "Is it because there's no protection?" Wu Yang said, "That's right. When you came here, the bamboo pavilion and houses were all protected. After countless years, not only are they undamaged, but they're also spotless." Huh. Lei Xingfeng already saw some light, but he didn't have time to check. He said, "Okay, when we come back, we'll search again. Since we're here, we can't go back empty-handed." Feng Qinzong said, "Of course. You've already found something, but I haven't." Lei Xingfeng said, "What did I find?" Jadeite bamboo isn't a cultivation material. It doesn't count as anything." Feng Qinzong said, "Then you won't go back empty-handed." Lei Xingfeng laughed. "Young martial uncle, I'm afraid you won't find as much as you did." Hee. Feng Qinzong also laughed. "Okay, let's see who has the biggest harvest this time." Wu Yang laughed. "Little Feng, I'm not trying to put you down, but if you want to compete in this, the chances of you losing are in the majority." Hee. "I can't think of a reason why you can win, haha." He seemed to be taking pleasure in Feng Qinzong's misfortune. Gucci couldn't help but laugh. "Yeah, I don't think you'll win either." Feng Qinzong was so angry he shouted, "Hey, I'm not that bad, am I?" Wu Yang and Gucci nodded at the same time. "You are." Lei Xingfeng suddenly laughed. He said, "Young martial uncle, why are you comparing?" "Ha!" Feng Qinzong raised his hand. "All right, I admit that I'm worse than a Feng, huh?" Wu Yang suddenly listened attentively. He raised his hand to stop everyone from talking. Then his expression changed slightly as he said, "Take a phone with you. Quick." As he spoke, he dashed forward. Gucci grabbed Exine Feng and dashed after him. Feng Qinzong paused for a moment before hurrying to catch up. They were already a few dozen meters apart. The three of them rushed forward as fast as lightning. In just a few minutes, a wall appeared in front of them. Wu Yang turned slightly and ran along the wall. Gucci and Feng Qinzong followed closely behind. At this moment, Lei Xingfeng realized the gap between him and Gucci. Even if Gucci was carrying him, he was still much faster than him. He also heard bursts of explosions. Those were the sounds of battle. 2 minutes later, Wu Yang saw a door. He quickly turned and stomped on the ground with one foot, making the sound of glass scraping. Then he rushed through the door. After a few breaths, Gucci also rushed through the door with Lei Xingfeng, followed closely by Feng Qinzong. Lei Xingfeng's first impression was that he saw his martial uncle Lotzi fly out. A person rushed out after him. That person definitely wanted to kill his martial uncle Lotzi. Gucci shouted, "Careful!" Then Lei Xingfeng saw the person who rushed out. When he saw the person's face, he couldn't help but shiver. It wasn't a human head, but an animal's head. However, its body was like a human's. Wu Yang's speed was extremely fast. He shouted, "Dodge!" Lotzi barely dodged to the side, making space. Wu Yang appeared in that position in an instant. The person also rushed in front of him. Boom! Wu Yang took the opponent's attack head-on. He was much stronger than Lotzi. He took the attack completely. At the same time, the force of his counterattack sent the person flying. At the same time, the person's body made a clear, crackling sound. "A puppet beast!" Lotzi shouted. "That's a puppet beast! Martial uncle, be careful!" Wu Yang also rushed out. He caught up to the puppet beast in midair and punched down. With a loud bang, the puppet beast couldn't withstand the force at all. It fell from the sky and smashed into the ground. A clear cracking sound came from his body. Wu Yang fell from the sky like a meteor. His feet emitted a dazzling light. He stomped on the puppet beast's chest. In an instant, the puppet beast exploded into pieces. Lei Xingfeng said in shock, "It's not a living thing. What the hell? It can fight a monarch." Lotzi raised his hand and slapped Lei Xingfeng. He laughed and scolded, "Why don't you tell me?" It could defeat a monarch rank puppet beast. Xian Feng immediately reacted. It was true. La Zi was defeated just now. One must know that La Zi's strength was at the monarch level. Yet he couldn't even defeat a mannequin. It was simply shocking. He spoke. Uncle La Zi, why are you here? La Zi said. Nonsense. I came to outer space to find this forbidden area. Of course I'm here. Wu Yang walked over with the puppet beast's head. He said, La Zi, enter the passage. La Zi's face showed a trace of shame. He said, yes. I accidentally touched a puppet beast. I didn't expect it to be a silver rank puppet beast. I've been entangled with it for a few days. Although I can't beat it, I'm not in much danger for the time being. So, he laughed a little awkwardly. Wu Yang said, fortunately, it's a silver rank puppet beast. If a gold rank puppet beast appeared, what would you do? La Zi didn't dare to talk back. He said in a small voice, a gold rank puppet beast won't appear at the edge of the forbidden area. I'm already very surprised that a silver rank puppet beast appeared. Xian Feng's ears perked up to listen. This was all information. This mannequin beast that even Master La Zi couldn't take it anymore. What kind of silver or gold level mannequin beast was it? Then wouldn't it be able to fight with the founder? In other words, a gold rank puppet beast was a heaven monarch rank expert? Master, what's a gold rank puppet beast? Lei Xingfeng asked curiously. Gucci smiled bitterly. The reason why we don't dare to enter the core area of the forbidden area is because of these puppet beasts. After coming in contact with them, we analyzed that there are a few types. The lowest level puppet beast has the strength of a 9th ring sage. We named it Steel Puppet Beast. They're the most common. Most of them are at the edge of the forbidden area. La Zi said, we've killed countless of these puppet beasts. They're basically cannon fodder. It's normal for a dozen to appear at once. However, if there are too many, we'll avoid them and use guerrilla tactics to eliminate them gradually. But if a silver rank puppet beast appears in a group of steel puppet beasts, then it'll be fun. Fortunately, there are very few puppet beasts above silver rank. It's said that silver rank puppet beasts only appear in groups in the core area. There might even be gold rank puppet beasts, which are even more difficult to deal with. Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but shake his head. He said, if we add in the traps here and the inexplicable defensive measures, it's no wonder we can't enter the core area of the forbidden area for so long. Gucci said, yes, because very few people can come here. Although they're all very powerful experts, they don't have an advantage in the forbidden area. One careless move, and you may be trapped. This is one of the reasons why we need to be careful. Wu Yang said, La Zi, you came here alone? Is there anyone else? La Zi shook his head. No one else, just me. Wu Yang raised his hand and slapped his head. You're getting bolder and bolder. You dare to come to the forbidden area alone. Do you want to die? La Zi didn't dare to talk back at all. He just kept saying, yes, Uncle Master, I was wrong. At this time, although he was a monarch, he was as obedient as a child. Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but laugh. La Zi was already very wretched, and now he was even more wretched. La Zi smiled bitterly and said, well, Uncle Master, I'll tell you the truth. When I came here before, I found a secret room and wanted to explore it alone. I didn't expect that when the secret room opened, there would be a silver puppet beast hidden inside. Alas, I'm so unlucky. Wu Yang immediately understood that this guy came to steal food. It was just that he was unlucky. This couldn't be blamed. No matter who it was, they all had their own selfish motives. There was nothing to blame for this kind of selfishness. He said, what are you going to do now? La Zi said with a bitter face. Of course I'm going to share with Uncle Master, Lei Xingfeng curiously picked up the head of the puppet beast. This was the head of a very strange animal. Although it looked like a dog, Lei Xingfeng knew that it wasn't a dog's head. There were 2 very short horns on the head, 3 eyes, and an extra eye on the forehead. Complex silver patterns covered the head. The whole head was made of metal. The craftsmanship was so complicated that even Lei Xingfeng was amazed. He was someone who had seen large industrial products. What exquisite craftsmanship! Can it be repaired? Wu Yang laughed. Don't even think about it. This thing is too complicated. Once it's broken, it's impossible to repair. In the past, There were people who specialized in collecting these puppet beast fragments. They struggled for a long time, but still couldn't figure out the principles behind it. They didn't know where to start, so they could only give up in the end. Lei Xingfeng had studied mechanical manufacturing in his past life. He felt that he had some foundation. Although he didn't understand the manufacturing techniques of the Forbidden Area, it shouldn't be a big problem if he took it back and studied it. Even if it didn't work, he wouldn't lose anything. He said, "Founder, give me these puppet beast fragments." Wu Yang owed Lei Xingfeng, who knew how many yin rings and favors he owed. He said without hesitation, "If you want, I'll give them all to you. Maybe we'll see some steel puppet beasts later. I'll catch a few for you to play with." Exai Feng hurriedly picked up the pieces on the ground and kept the head in his hidden Luin space. In this world, his favorite thing was the hidden Luin space. This thing was simply too convenient. He could bring anything with him. After he became a ninth ring true body, his space was so big that he couldn't fill it. This was a very large plaza. The reason it was called a plaza was because the ground was made of some kind of material. It was smooth and clean. Even the battle just now didn't damage it at all. There should be some kind of protection. Chapter 300. More than half of the buildings around the square had been destroyed. There were still a few intact buildings. Similarly, this place had been searched and cleared out. There was basically nothing good to be found. Therefore, when Lazi said there was a secret room, it piqued Wu Yang's interest. He said, "Lazi, lead the way. Let's take a look at the secret room." Even though Lazi was unwilling, he could not show it. He said, "Okay, everyone follow me." The ground was full of broken stones and many broken metal components. Lei Xingfeng knew that many of them were good materials. He picked them up and asked, "Master, why don't you want these materials?" Gucci said, "Why are you picking up these ordinary materials?" Lei Xingfeng said, These are not ordinary materials. If they're melted again, they're also very good things." Gucci was slightly taken aback. He immediately understood. Lei Xingfeng was not a monarch. He was still a ninth ring sage. This kind of material was good for a ninth ring sage. They did not care, but it did not mean that Lei Xingfeng would let it go. He smiled and said, As long as it doesn't waste time, you can pick up whatever you want." Lei Xingfeng followed and picked up all kinds of metal components. There were many metals that Lei Xingfeng did not have. He did not care if he could use them in the future. He would pick them up first. After walking for about 10 minutes, Lazi led everyone to an inconspicuous room. It was a low room, half of which was hidden underground. Lazi came into the room and said, "Everyone, stand back." As he spoke, he stomped his foot. With a crack appeared on the ground. Lazi leaned over and stretched out his hands, pushing to both sides. With a rumble, the stairs below were revealed. "It's down here." When I opened it, a humanoid beast rushed out. I and each attacked. Only then did I know that it was a silver humanoid beast. Wu Yang said, "Okay, I'll go down first this time. You guys can come down later. And then be on guard first." No one had any objections. After all, Wu Yang was the strongest and had the highest status. No one had any objections to him assigning tasks. Wu Yang's figure flashed, and he had already descended. Gucci, Lazi, Feng Qinzong, and Lei Xingfeng stood at the four sides of the entrance. They carefully stared at the dark hole and waited patiently. Although Lazi was very unwilling, he knew that Wu Yang going down was the best choice. Who knew if there were any more silver mannequins below? After a while, there was no sound from below. Lazi was anxious and said, "I can't wait any longer. Let's go down first." As he said this, he dashed out and instantly disappeared into the tunnel. Gucci said, "This guy, let's go down too." Since he had already gone down, it was unwise to wait there. The three of them quickly walked down. This was a rather long tunnel that sloped downwards. After about 100 meters, it turned and went down again. After 9 turns, which was 900 steps, the three of them walked into an underground hall. The ground was covered with broken steel mannequins. Wu Yang and Lazi were still looking for other paths because this was an empty hall. There was nothing inside. Lei Xingfeng began to pick up the pieces on the ground. After careful counting, There were 9 heads of steel mannequins. In other words, Wu Yang was attacked by 9 steel mannequins when he entered. When Lei Xingfeng finished picking up all the pieces on the ground, he saw that Wu Yang and the others had already gathered together and were discussing. Only then did he walk over. Wu Yang saw Lei Xingfeng walk over and smiled. "A phone. Can you find another entrance? This seems to be a hall." We looked around and didn't find any other passages. Lazi was obviously a little depressed. He had found a secret room, but there was nothing in it. There was only 1 silver mannequin and 9 steel mannequins. He didn't believe that there was nothing inside with so many powerful mannequins guarding it. This was completely incomprehensible. However, he had tried his best, but couldn't find any traces. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, "Grandmaster, I'm not omnipotent. Let's look for it together." The 5 of them began to search again. They searched almost inch by inch, knocking and knocking. In the end, they finally despaired. There was indeed no trace. Lei Xingfeng knew that no matter how advanced the technology was, it was impossible to not find a trace. In the end, he said, I guess this is really a hall. There are no other secret rooms." Lazi wailed and said, "I'm in trouble." Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, "Martial Uncle Lazi, why do you say that?" Lazi scratched his head in distress. After a while, he said, "I used up all the yin rings I've collected over the past few years to get this chance. Damn, it's because I always thought this secret room had treasures and was prepared to make a fortune. Sai, this is bad, this is bad." Lei Xingfeng didn't understand and said, "Martial Uncle Lazi, even if we can't get anything, we'll just lose some yin rings. If we can find some other things, we can make up for a little. It won't be so bad, right?" Lazi shook his head and said, "You don't know, other than the cost of entering, I also borrowed a lot of yin rings to buy this chance to enter. Sai, if I didn't have such high hopes for this secret room, I wouldn't have made such a mistake." Lei Xingfeng couldn't understand it all. He said, "You bought this chance?" Gucci explained, "Feng, generally speaking, when Dao Lords open a space-time door, they will auction off 1 or 2 of the slots. The others, they will either be sold off internally, or they will be given to their own people. Most likely, your Uncle Master Lotzi won the slots through the auction." Feng Chinzong was also curious. He said, "Senior brother Lazi, this can be auctioned?" "This spot. How many yin rings did you spend?" Lazi laughed bitterly. 170,000 yin rings. Lei Xingfeng was so shocked that he cried out, 170,000 yin rings. This is too much." Wu Yang was also a bit confused. He said, "I've seen auctions like this before. Even if you get a spot, you won't spend that many yin rings. Usually, 50 or 60,000 yin rings is the highest you can get. Any more, and you won't be able to break even. Why did you spend so many yin rings?" Lazi's face was full of bitterness. He said, "Someone purposely raised the price. It's my fault. I wanted this spot too much and got tricked by that guy." Everyone was stunned. After a while, Wu Yang said, "Aren't you usually pretty smart? Why are you so stupid this time?" Lazi said, "I was forced to." "Sai, forget it. Let's not talk about it. It's too depressing." Wu Yang said, "Fine. If that's the case, let's go up." The 5 of them returned to the small room above. Lei Xingfeng was the last to come out. He said, "It's such a long flight of stairs. I'm dizzy from all the twists and turns." Huh. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind, and he couldn't help but stare blankly. Wu Yang noticed Lei Xingfeng's blank expression. He hurriedly asked, "What's wrong?" Lei Xingfeng was gently patted by Wu Yang. He suddenly came to his senses. He said, "I don't know if I'm right." Wu Yang said, "What do you mean?" Lei Xingfeng said faintly, "We seem to have overlooked a place." Lazi was also surprised. "What did we overlook?" "We've searched the hall and confirmed that it's impossible for there to be a secret room or a passage. What else could we have overlooked?" Lei Xingfeng said faintly, "I don't know if my guess is right or not, but there's a place we haven't searched. That's the corner of the stairs." At this moment, he remembered the buildings in his previous life. At the corner of each staircase, there were often several doors. There were a total of 9 corners of the stairs in this secret room. This was the place they had overlooked. Wu Yang said happily, "That's right. Haha, a Feng is still the most attentive. Lazi suddenly slapped his thigh and said, "That's right. We only looked at the last hall, but if there was a secret room or passage at the corner, we would have indeed overlooked it. Sigh, I'm an idiot. Let's go." The five of them went back and went down the stairs. Soon, they came to the first corner and began to look carefully. There was nothing at the first corner, and there was also nothing at the second corner. They finally found something at the fifth corner. It was a very hidden entrance. If they didn't look carefully, it would be impossible to find it. The five of them stood there excitedly. They had finally found a clue. They had exhausted all means, but still couldn't open the door of this secret room. Wu Yang shook his head and said, "Forget it. Let's use force to open the door." Everyone nodded helplessly. There were many disadvantages to using force to open the door. It was very likely to destroy the items behind the door, but it was better than not opening it at all. This task was given to Wu Yang. He was the strongest here, and only he had hope of opening this door. Leaving Wu Yang behind, the others retreated to a corner above to wait. They heard a series of roars below, and the entire secret passage kept shaking. There was a very clear cracking sound. Gucci said with a smile, "It seems to be open." Then they heard Wu Yang say, "Come down." Everyone quickly ran down and saw that the door of the secret room had been broken open. There was still a passage behind it, but it extended out horizontally. This was a small suite. There was a large platform outside, and there were all kinds of instruments on it. Most of them were all kinds of utensils, and they didn't know what they were made of. Lei Xingfeng knew that they were definitely not crystal or glass, but they were somewhat similar to glass utensils. With just a glance, he recognized that they were tools used to make potions. After Lotzi went in, he was like a deflated balloon. He wailed, "Damn it! Why is it a potion dispensing instrument? And it's AF asterisk king low-level potion dispensing instrument." Lei Xingfeng asked in a low voice, "Master, is this thing worthless?" Gucci said, "It's not that it's worthless. It's just that this thing can only be used by certain people. Even if we get it, it's useless. To make potions, you need talent attributes. Besides, who can you sell this thing to? No one will buy it." The room was clean and spotless. There was a row of shelves in the inner room, and there were some boxes on it. There were about 10 boxes, and they were very simple wooden boxes. Lei Xingfeng recognized at a glance that they were boxes made of lacquered ebony. Wu Yang picked up a box and opened it. There was a very neat row of potions inside. There were a total of 5 potions. Even if the potions were sealed well, there was only a little concentrated liquid left inside, or traces of drying. In other words, the potions left here were completely useless. Of course, the boxes and potion bottles could still be used after cleaning. After all, they were items used in ancient times. Chapter 301. Lazi scowled. "Who wants it? Just give me some rings." "I don't want it." Lei Xingfeng said, I want it. Lazi didn't understand. "What are you doing? You don't know how to make medicine." Lei Xingfeng said, "My little sister is learning how to make medicine. This is the most suitable gift." Wu Yang said, "A phone. Give me 200 rings. These are all yours." Lei Xingfeng agreed and took them without hesitation. This kind of high-quality equipment couldn't be found outside. 200 rings was already very cheap. Wu Yang didn't want the 200 rings. Gucci didn't want it either. They gave it to Lazi and Feng Chinzong, each with 100 rings. Lazi was also in debt, so his eyes narrowed. 100 rings was better than nothing. He put away the rings and said, "Let's keep looking. I don't believe there's only one secret room." They did indeed find another secret room. This one almost made Lazi cough up blood. This secret room was a bedroom, and it was very small. There was only a simple bed and a very small table. There was nothing else. The bedding on the bed crumbled into powder with a light touch. It was really too old. As for the table, it was obvious at a glance. There wasn't even a drawer. Under the simple table, there were 4 legs. Lazi complained, "Fuck, this guy is a poor bastard. Even a few rings would be good." "Fuck." Wu Yang said, "It's fine. You still have time to explore. Maybe you'll find something valuable." The others didn't think so. After all, Lazi's debt was frightening. Almost 200,000 rings. How could he pay it back? Returning to the room above ground, La Zi said, I'll leave first. Sigh, if I can hunt a star beast, then maybe I can pay it back. Wu Yang shook his head. Don't think about star beasts. Let's look for something else. La Zi rolled his eyes. Martial uncle, do you want to explore the forbidden area? Ha! Wu Yang couldn't help but slap him and say, Are you looking for death? La Zi shrunk his neck and said, It's not necessarily courting death. Ha! I know a shortcut to enter. If we can get close to the inner circle of the forbidden area, we might be able to gain something. He tried his best to tempt Wu Yang. He knew that with his own strength, even if he worked himself to death, he might not be able to gather enough yin rings. He had to drag Wu Yang with him. Only then would he have a glimmer of hope. Wu Yang laughed and scolded. Bastard, are you trying to drag me down with you? La Zi said repeatedly, I wouldn't dare, I wouldn't dare. Martial uncle, this is also an opportunity. I was the one who discovered this shortcut. Others simply don't know about it, hee. Shortcut? Others didn't know? This information was very important. If it was only a shortcut, Wu Yang wouldn't care at all. However, only La Zi knew about it, which meant that the shortcut could lead him to a forbidden area that he had never been to before. This meant that there would be gains. This sentence attracted his attention. Wu Yang said, Okay, tell me about it. La Zi was relieved. If Wu Yang had turned around and left, there was nothing he could do. With his strength alone, the gains could be imagined. Originally, he had planned to give up this shortcut if he had enough gains in the secret room. After all, dying for greed was not his goal. However, it was different now. With Wu Yang, a Lord of Heaven, there might be great gains through this shortcut. The strength of a Lord of Heaven should be able to withstand the dangers here. La Zi said, This shortcut is actually a secret passage. I once walked to the bottom, but I didn't dare to go out. There I saw 2 silver puppets. With my strength, I couldn't beat them at all. But if Uncle Master goes, there might be a chance of winning. Wu Yang pondered for a moment. 2 silver-level puppets were not a threat to him. Moreover, he had 2 monarchs, Gucci and Feng Chenzong. In addition to La Zi, 1 Lord of Heaven, 3 monarchs. Even if a few more silver-level puppets came, they could deal with them. As for Lei Xingfeng, he directly ignored him. This was not the main battlefield of a 9th ring sage. Gucci, of course, also knew that once the forbidden area was opened, the gains would be absolutely shocking. He couldn't help but say, There are only 2 silver-level puppets. We can definitely deal with them. Wu Yang said, What if a gold-level puppet appears? Gucci immediately shut up. A gold-level puppet was enough to stall Wu Yang. If a few more silver-level puppets appeared, not to mention others, Lei Xingfeng would be in danger. La Zi laughed. Martial uncle, there might not be any gold-level puppets. If there really are, then the gains, Wu Yang laughed and scolded. You bastard, you're trying to tempt me again. You'll have to be alive to get it. A gold-level item is indeed very valuable, but it'll be difficult to defeat a gold-level puppet beast. La Zi said, If we're well prepared, we still have a good chance of winning. If we can't, then we'll withdraw. Wu Yang nodded. Let's go explore. However, don't take too big of a risk this time. If something is wrong, then withdraw immediately. A phone, Lei Xingfeng hurriedly said, I'll go too. What a joke. If he stayed, he wouldn't be able to see anything. Wu Yang was a bit helpless. He knew how dangerous the forbidden area was, especially one that hadn't been explored yet. It was even scarier. The little guy's safety was hard to guarantee. He hesitated, then said, When we fight, we might not be able to take care of you. If you follow, you'll be in danger. What will you do then? Lei Xingfeng said, Don't worry, I'll hide somewhere. Plus, if we meet a puppet beast, it's not like I can't fight it. Wu Yang said, Oh, I forgot. You're of the lightning attribute. Puppets are very sensitive to lightning. How about this? When we meet a puppet beast, once the battle starts, you help out. Use your lightning to attack. Little Feng will be responsible for protecting a Feng. Feng Chenzong nodded. Wu Yang then said, La Zi, you lead the way. If something like that happens again, I'll beat you up. La Zi wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He said, Martial uncle, you can't bully me like that. How would I know that there was nothing in the secret room? Wu Yong said, "Don't talk nonsense. Lead the way." Lazi opened his mouth, but no words came out. He turned and walked towards a secret shortcut. Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but laugh. Lazi was suppressed by Wu Yong to the point that he couldn't do anything. After passing through the ruins, they saw a building that looked like a tower. Half of it had collapsed, and only a small part of it was left. Lazi led everyone in. He said, "The secret passage here is the same as the one in the secret room. I found it by accident." Inside the building, it was a mess. There were countless broken stones and bricks on the ground, as well as some metal components. Lei Xingfeng would pick them up and put them in his hidden ruin space. For him, they were good stuff. Lazi looked at Lei Xingfeng strangely. He didn't expect Lei Xingfeng to pick up these metal components. He said, "Feng, I know a place with a lot of these things. What do you want them for?" Lei Xingfeng said, "Martial Uncle Lazi, I'm a ninth ring sage, not a monarch." Lazi suddenly understood. That's true. You guys do need these things." Wu Yong said, "Where's the secret passage?" Lazi hurriedly said, "We'll be there soon. Follow me." After walking a dozen steps, a large part of the ground collapsed, revealing the room below. It was a room built underground. Lazi jumped down, and everyone followed suit. This room was a complete mess. Lazi walked to a corner and waved his hand, sweeping the messy things on the ground to the side. Only then did he walk up and stomp his foot. Immediately, the ground cracked open, revealing a passage. Lazi said, "This is the passage. I thought it was a secret room." Lei Xingfeng understood what he meant. He thought it was a secret room, but it turned out to be an underground passage that led to another place. He didn't say it out loud, waiting for the next opportunity. Lazi was very cunning. Wu Yong said, "You lead the way. We'll follow behind. Feng, you just follow me. When we go out later, Xiao Feng will protect us." Lei Xingfeng followed obediently. He knew that he couldn't cause any trouble at this time. Lei Xingfeng also agreed. He followed behind Lei Xingfeng, and the group walked into the underground passage. The passage was very long. Even with everyone's fast pace, it still took them about half an hour. Fortunately, there was only one passage, and there were no forks. They just had to follow the passage to the end. Lazi said, "We're here. With the end." It was a small door. Fortunately, it was made of metal. Otherwise, after so many years of corrosion, it would have decayed into ashes. Lazi raised a finger and put it in front of his mouth, indicating for everyone to be silent. Then, he carefully pulled open the door. After opening a crack, Lazi stopped. He looked outside through the crack, and after a while, he whispered, "There's nothing." Wu Yong was behind him. He whispered, "Didn't you say there were 2 silver rank puppet beasts?" Lazi whispered, "I didn't see anything. Maybe they left." Wu Yong said, "Nonsense. How could they leave? This kind of place had no owner for a long time. Silver rank puppet beasts patrolled here. Unless something happened to their bodies, they would always stay in one place." Lei Xingfeng said, "Maybe the place they were guarding was an area." Lazi couldn't help but praise, Yes, that must be it." Wu Yong whispered, "Let's not worry about that for now. Open the door and go out." Inside the small door, it was impossible to see the situation outside through the crack. Lazi nodded. "Everyone be careful. I'll go out first." He opened the door and went out. Wu Yong followed. Lei Xingfeng was about to leave when Feng Qinzong grabbed him by the collar. Gucci said, "Be careful." He also went out. Feng Qinzong said, "Follow me. Don't run around." Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. "Okay, I know. Junior Martial Uncle, please." Only then did Feng Qinzong walk out of the small door. Lei Xingfeng followed closely behind. After opening the small door, there were plants as tall as a person, but they were very sparse. Not far away was a 1-meter-tall platform. It was about 1,000 square meters in size. Through the crack in the door, they could only see the sparse plants and the edge of the platform. No wonder Lazi said there were no silver rank puppet beasts. Chapter 302. Lei Xingfeng followed Feng Qinzong out. Both of them carefully crouched down and snuck to the edge of the platform. Lazi, Wu Yong, and Gucci all lined up and squatted by the edge of the platform. Each of them stuck their heads out to look at the platform. Lei Xingfeng also stuck his head out to take a look. He immediately saw 3 silver puppets wandering around the platform. He couldn't help but be surprised. He raised his hand to indicate that there were 3, not 2. Wu Yang pointed at Guqi, then at a puppet on the right, indicating that he should deal with it. Then he pointed at a puppet on the left, then at La Zi. The 3 of them looked at each other and immediately knew what to do. Wu Yang pointed at Feng Qinzong again, then at Lei Xingfeng. Feng Qinzong nodded and patted his chest. Wu Yang then shouted, "Let's go." His body flickered, and he appeared behind the silver puppet beast in middle. Suddenly, he threw out a punch. This punch was as fast as lightning, and it was as fast as lightning. Guqi and La Zi also flashed to the front of their respective mannequin beasts and attacked. In an instant, the 3 silver puppets were in extreme danger. Lei Xingfeng sighed. Sneak attacks are the way to go. There's no time to defend. We won. Wu Yang was the fastest. He smashed a silver puppet to pieces with just 2 punches. Then he pounced on La Zi without hesitation. Among the 3 of them, La Zi was the weakest, so he chose to take care of the puppet that La Zi was dealing with first. The 2 of them worked together and took care of the silver puppet in an instant. Guqi had already exchanged a few blows with his opponent. Although he couldn't kill the doll beast in one go, he had a huge advantage. His first sneak attack had already injured the doll beast. All he had to do now was to stall for time. Soon, Wu Yang and La Zi arrived. The 3 of them worked together and smashed the silver puppet to pieces as quickly as possible. Xi and Feng excitedly rushed forward and started to pick up the broken pieces of the mannequin beast. Lei Xingfeng wanted to piece together the pieces of the silver puppet himself, so he spared no effort to search for the pieces and try to piece them back together. There were only 3 silver puppets on the platform. There were no other dangers. Behind the stone was a building. The most valuable thing was that the building wasn't damaged at all. Wu Yang stared at the buildings with a pleasantly surprised look on his face. He said, "It's actually an intact ruin. I hope we won't encounter any powerful things or traps. If this place hasn't been excavated, there should be a good harvest." "I don't know what kind of area this is," said Guqi. The 5 of them didn't rush over. Instead, they observed carefully. Perhaps Lei Xingfeng and Feng Qinzong didn't understand the dangers of the forbidden area, but Wu Yang, Guqi, and La Zi knew very well. They didn't dare to act rashly. They had to have a certain amount of confidence before they would act. There were 4 towers and a building. At the front of the building was this huge platform. Of the 4 towers, one was half collapsed, one was slanted, and one had its spire missing. Only one was left intact. The buildings were basically intact. Some of them even had protective barriers that flickered with a faint white light. There wasn't a single person in sight. It was as cold and empty as a tomb. After a while, they didn't find anything wrong. Wu Yang said, "Let's go in." His voice was a little excited. This kind of unexplored ruin was definitely a treasure trove. Of course, the danger it contained was self-evident. They carefully came to the side of the platform. In front of the building was a small forest. It could be seen that these were the trees and weeds that grew later. If they were originally planted, then even after countless years, they would still be neat and tidy. They didn't know how the people of the forbidden area took care of them. It was extremely mysterious. Just like the lawn they saw before, it didn't seem to be affected by the passage of time at all. This small forest was extremely lush. It completely separated the building from the platform. Wu Yang jumped off the platform and walked into the forest. The others followed. Everyone was very careful and tried to make as little noise as possible. Soon, their gazes fell on a few swimming silver-level mannequins. La Zi patted his chest lightly. Thank goodness we have this small forest to hide us. Otherwise, the platform is very clear. There are actually 4 silver-level mannequins here. Mother of Asterisk Kerr, if we alerted them, we wouldn't have had to deal with 3 mannequins, but 7. Lei Xingfeng said, "There aren't 4 mannequins here, but 6. Look over there." Wu Yang stared and nodded. "Yes, those 2 mannequins are leaning against the wall. Strange, why aren't they moving?" 6 silver-level mannequins. Everyone's face darkened. This wasn't easy to deal with. The most important thing was that they couldn't determine if there were more silver-level mannequins in the room other than these 6. If they started fighting and more mannequins rushed out of the room, then they would be in big trouble. Lazi said, "These things are really annoying." Mother asterisk her, "Why do they have so many mannequins?" Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but laugh. "Martial uncle, that's to prevent people like you from coming in and snatching things. Hee hee." Wu Yang suddenly said, "Don't make a sound." At the same time, he raised his hand and pointed in the distance at the tower that had lost its spire. He whispered, "Look." Xi and Feng and the rest looked over, their faces all changing. A human silhouette appeared on top of the tower, but due to the loss of the spire, his figure was revealed. With Xi and Feng's eyesight, he immediately knew that it was a large fellow, at least 3 meters tall, with a majestic body. At the same time, he could also clearly see that the man had a large beast head. La Zi covered his mouth with his hand. Gucci's face was bitter as he whispered, "Damn it, gold-level mannequins. God, why are there so many mannequins here? Even gold-level mannequins are here." Lei Xingfeng said, "Our luck is already very good. If we were fighting the silver-level mannequins just now, we would have been able to see the gold-level mannequin. If we were still standing on the platform, our luck is already good enough." His voice was very soft, but everyone heard it clearly. Wu Yang said, "He should be leaving soon. This is his patrol route." Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "That's right. We just don't know when he will appear and when he will leave. I hope he can leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, we won't be able to move." A gold-level mannequin was comparable to a true monarch expert. A powerful one could even fight against a peak true monarch, but it was still far from a heaven monarch. Therefore, in the outer realm, having a heaven monarch expert was more useful than anything else. This was also why Wu Yang dared to bring Lei Xingfeng along. He believed that he could protect Lei Xingfeng's safety. It wasn't that Wu Yang was afraid of this gold-level mannequin, but if he was alarmed, he was afraid that other mannequins would appear. Once the mannequins formed a large group, even Wu Yang would have to avoid them. The worst thing was that Lei Xingfeng was a burden. If he wasn't careful, Lei Xingfeng might not be able to escape. This was something he couldn't tolerate. As they observed, the 5 of them felt their hearts grow heavier. They realized that there were many mannequins here. Some of them had been discovered by them, while others were still hidden in the buildings. If they couldn't get rid of these mannequins, they wouldn't be able to plunder the treasures here. The 5 of them were temporarily trapped in the small forest. Although the forest wasn't very big, it was very lush and could cover the 5 of them. This was also because the forest had grown later, and the mannequins didn't pay attention to it at all. This gave the 5 of them a chance to hide. After careful calculation, Wu Yang couldn't help but shake his head. "We can't ambush them. If we fight, they will immediately attract other mannequins. Everyone, what should we do?" Lei Xingfeng was also calculating. His conclusion was the same as Wu Yang's. They couldn't force their way in because they didn't know how many mannequins were hidden in the buildings. If they split up and surrounded them, there was a chance of success. But if they forced their way in, the chances of success were very low. It was very likely that all 5 of them would be trapped inside. "It's going to be hard," Feng Chinzong said. He had also calculated it. Lazi's face was very ugly. He had been counting on this place, but he didn't expect there to be so many mannequins here. He looked at Wu Yang and whispered, "Martial uncle, are we going to fight?" "Of course we are," Wu Yang said. "We've already come this far. How can we retreat? Plus, it's not like we don't have a chance." "How should we fight?" Gucci asked. Wu Yang said, "First, we have to make sure we have a way out. If we can't beat them, we can quickly return to the tunnel. At worst, we can destroy the tunnel and stop the pursuers." This was a way to retreat after failing. It was a very stable way of thinking, and everyone agreed. Wu Yang said, "Also, we can't fight head-on. If we do, there are too many unknown factors that I can't control. It's not good for everyone. Yes, we need to find a relatively safe way to proceed. The prerequisite is that none of us die." Everyone nodded. No one wanted to die. This condition was necessary. Wu Yang said, "Then, how should we proceed? Let's think of a way." Everyone lowered their voices and began to discuss. Lei Xingfeng had a strange feeling. He felt like they were a group of robbers, discussing how to get the most valuable things at the lowest price. Lei Xingfeng kept looking around. He was observing the terrain, so he didn't speak. After discussing for a while, they still couldn't come to a conclusion. Everyone was a little discouraged. Wu Yang looked around and saw Lei Xingfeng, who was silent. He said, "A phone. Do you have any suggestions?" Lei Xingfeng said, "I want to clarify a few small questions first." Wu Yang said, "What questions?" "Just ask." Lei Xingfeng said, "Puppet beasts, what are the conditions for them to support each other? Or rather, if they see a puppet beast being attacked, will another puppet beast come to help? If they don't see it, will they still come?" Wu Yang had seen the most forbidden lands and knew the most details. He thought for a while and said, "In the past, we've only met a few scattered puppet beasts. It's rare to see a group of them. This time, we're taking a risk, so there are fewer of us. But we've encountered a situation like this. Yes, I can't explain the conditions for them to support each other." Chapter 303. Lei Xingfeng scratched his head. "Is that so?" After a while, he said, "If that's the case, then we need to test them out. If they come after us like a swarm of bees, then we can only retreat. If they don't, haha, I'm sure everyone will be able to grasp this opportunity. After all, the puppets weren't humans and didn't have the intelligence of humans." Lei Xingfeng was betting on this, and it was worth it. Wu Yang nodded. "That's also a good idea. It's better than sitting around and not doing anything. What do you guys think? It's worth a try." Lazi said. Gucci said, "It's a good idea. As long as the puppets don't come after us like a swarm of bees, we do have a chance of winning." Feng Qinzong said, "No objections." "I agree." Wu Yang smiled. "Good, let's take a gamble. If we win, we'll win a lot. If we lose, we won't lose anything. Let's do it. Feng, you tell us, how do we go about it?" Lei Xingfeng pondered for a moment. He pointed at the 4 silver rank puppets not far away. "First, we have to get rid of these 4. Otherwise, we won't be able to do anything." Wu Yang nodded. "That's a must." Lei Xingfeng said, "By baiting these 4 silver rank puppets, we'll be able to see if they can communicate with each other and if they can call for backup. This is very important. I've checked the surroundings. The area we can move around in is very small. The place we have the most confidence in is the platform behind us." Gucci said, "Yes, our battle didn't alert the silver rank puppets." Wu Yang nodded. "It didn't alert them because our attack speed was fast enough and the noise was small enough. Since we're testing, we don't need to be too careful. We just need to see if they'll call for backup if we make too much noise." Lei Xingfeng nodded. "Yes, but who's going to bait them?" "Haha, I suggest I do it." Lei Xingfeng whispered, "I'll lure the enemy." Wu Yang said in surprise, "What? You're here to lure the enemy?" "No, it's too dangerous." Xian Feng laughed. "It's not dangerous, Ancestor. Look, this place is at the edge of the platform. You can all hide here while I lure the enemy. This forest is extremely small. It will only take a few seconds for me to pass through. No matter how strong the silver level mannequin is, it won't be able to stop me. Furthermore, all of you have the ability to attack. Using you to lure the enemy is a waste. 1 heaven monarch, 3 perfected lords, and 4 silver puppet beasts behind the small forest. Once they caught up to them, they would each have 1 silver puppet beast each. Since Wu Yang was a heaven monarch, he would be able to kill 1 silver puppet beast quickly and assist the others. As long as the 3 perfected lords could hold the silver puppet beast back, Lei Xingfeng would have a 99% chance of winning. The logic was simple. If the silver puppet beast had support, then Lei Xingfeng's team would lose. If they didn't, then they would win. As for who would lure the silver puppet beast, there was no problem. Gucci said, "A Feng is more suitable. He has the lightning attribute, and speed is his forte. He doesn't need to fight. As long as he can lure the silver puppet beast, then the mission is complete. Leave the rest to us." Lazzi also said, "Yes, I agree. A Feng will lure the silver puppet beast while we ambush it. This is the most suitable plan." Feng Qinzong said, "No problem." Lei Xingfeng laughed. "It's actually very easy. You guys get ready and remember to give me the signal." Wu Yang said, "Okay, be careful." Lei Xingfeng finally had a chance to personally take action. He carefully crawled to the edge of the forest. At this time, he could clearly see the 4 silver puppet beasts. They walked back and forth in a very regular pattern, but their speed was extremely slow. Lei Xingfeng was secretly impressed. It was said that the Forbidden Lands had been here for countless years. He didn't know how the silver puppet beasts could still be so strong and in such good condition. It was incredible just thinking about it. Wu Yang and the others quickly retreated to the platform. There was no cover here, so it wasn't suitable for an ambush. In fact, it didn't want to hide. As long as Lei Xingfeng could lure the silver puppet beasts over, then everything would be easy. Lotzi sent a signal to Lei Xingfeng in the forest. This meant that they were ready. Lei Xingfeng was still thinking about how to lure the silver puppet beasts. He didn't reveal himself. Instead, he shook the tree beside him. The leaves rustled as Lei Xingfeng stared at the 4 silver puppet beasts. Whoosh! Whoosh! After shaking twice, he indeed attracted the attention of the silver puppet beasts. To Lei Xingfeng's surprise, only 1 silver puppet beast walked over. Lei Xingfeng was dumbfounded. However, he didn't hesitate. He immediately retreated into the forest and made some movements. The silver puppet beast followed him foolishly. When the silver puppet beast was about to come out, Lei Xingfeng shot out a lightning bolt and dashed out. As expected, the lightning bolt caused the silver puppet beast to change from its search mode to its battle mode. This fellow dashed out. Lei Xingfeng dashed over and said, "Just one." Wu Yang and the others were overjoyed. This was the ideal situation. Taking care of the silver puppet beasts one by one was much better than a group fight. There would definitely be no accidents. The 4 of them attacked at the same time. In an instant, the silver puppet beast was reduced to parts. Lei Xingfeng turned around and picked up the parts on the ground. He said, again, this was similar to fishing. Lei Xingfeng quickly caught another silver puppet beast. This success was based on the fact that the silver puppet beasts were just silver puppets. They weren't real humans and didn't have human thoughts. This allowed Lei Xingfeng to successfully take advantage of the loopholes. After catching the silver puppet beasts one by one, they were surrounded and killed by Wu Yang and the others. The 4 of them successfully killed the silver-ranked demonic beast, and the 5 of them looked at each other. Suddenly, Xi and Feng let out a puffed laugh, causing the others to laugh as well. Although they tried to suppress their laughter, the joyous mood still spread. Wu Yang smiled. Interesting. I didn't expect it to be so successful. La Zi said, "We were just scaring ourselves. I didn't expect the silver puppet beast to be so stupid." Lei Xingfeng said, "It's not that they're stupid, it's that they're not humans. They're just war machines. If someone were to command them, it would be completely different. Now, they're just targets. As long as they're isolated, it won't work." Gucci said, "Now that the guard dogs are gone, we should be able to go in." Feng Qinzong smiled. "The harvest this time must be quite good. No one has ever come here before. I'm really looking forward to it." Lei Xingfeng said, "I've observed that the 4 silver puppet beasts are guarding a courtyard. It's the one on the side. We can go in and search." Lazi agreed. "Let's grab something first. Then we'll move on to the next step." He knew that only things that fell into his hidden Luin space were his. Everything else was fake. Gucci laughed and scolded. "I've never seen you so vicious before." I agree. In fact, he was eager to try as well. This was his first time coming to a forbidden area that no one had ever come to before. He was full of anticipation. Lei Xingfeng had already observed how to enter. He said, "Follow me." Wu Yang laughed. "Little brat, I knew it. Everyone, follow me." Returning to the forest, they quickly arrived at the edge. Without the 4 gold puppet beasts, a large part of the defense was gone. There were still gold puppet beasts roaming in the distance, but due to the distance, they wouldn't affect the area for now. Lei Xingfeng whispered, "The gold puppet beast on the tower has already left. We'll go in from here. There's a small door that we should be able to open easily." Wu Yang looked around and said, "That's right. We'll go in through that small door. I'll take the lead. Everyone, follow me. Try not to make any noise to avoid alerting the gold puppet beasts." The group quietly snuck to the small door. Wu Yang gently pushed it, but the metal door didn't budge. Wu Yang whispered, "This is troublesome. It's a sealed door." The group took turns to try, but the door didn't budge at all. At this time, it wasn't suitable to force open the door because it would make a lot of noise. Furthermore, they couldn't climb over the wall. No one knew what would happen if they climbed over the wall. There were too many traps in the forbidden area, and many of them were unknown to them. Lei Xingfeng was the last to go. He tried to push the door. After thinking for a moment, he tried to push it horizontally. He pushed left and right horizontally. Suddenly, the door slid quietly. Lei Xingfeng was delighted. He immediately knew that this was a door that slid horizontally. He carefully slid it open a crack and looked into the courtyard. Wu Yang and the others also revealed a smile on their faces. Lazi muttered, "Damn, this door actually slides open. This is too much of a scam." He wanted to break down the door violently, but the consequences of doing so were not something he could deal with. Lei Xingfeng whispered, "There are no gold puppet beasts in the courtyard. The biggest enemy here was the gold puppet beasts. As long as there were no gold puppet beasts, they could basically do whatever they wanted. It was certain that no one lived here." The five of them entered the courtyard. Lei Xingfeng turned around and quietly closed the small door. Everyone knew that once they entered the courtyard, if there were no gold puppet beasts in the courtyard, no matter what they did, the gold puppet beasts outside wouldn't disturb them. They would think that this was normal. This was a small courtyard. The ground was made of milky white stones. They didn't know what method was used, but after countless years, it was still as clean as new. However, there were a lot of weeds and crooked small trees in the corners. That should be where the cleaning power couldn't reach. In the middle of the courtyard was a square white pond. It was full of mud, weeds, and trees. It could be seen that this pond was originally used to raise fish or other aquatic animals. However, it had dried up over the years. There was a small building in front and another behind. The five of them stood in the middle of the courtyard. It was a very small courtyard, less than 200 square meters. Wu Yang observed for a while and said, "Let's go to the small building at the back and see what we can get." The small building at the back had 3 floors. The tallest building here was only about 3 floors. Most of the buildings were 2 floors and weren't very big. Lazi took the lead and rushed in. Lei Xingfeng followed. He was also curious about what good things there would be. He realized that this kind of thing was definitely addictive. After doing it once, it would be like doing it a second time. Even if there was no income, he would still enjoy it. Chapter 304. After rushing into the room, Lei Xingfeng froze. The entire room was empty. Lazi was also in a daze. "Damn, there's nothing here." Even his voice had changed. Wu Yang and the others also entered the room. Wu Yang was surprised. Did the owner of this place take everything away? That's not right. All the rooms in this 3-story building were empty. There was nothing, not even a speck of dust. It was despairingly clean. Lazi was about to cry. After searching for so long, he didn't find anything. This was a big blow. Wu Yang decisively said, "Let's go to the front and see." Lazi dashed out like a gust of wind, heading straight for the small building in front. Lei Xingfeng followed. The small building in front was not empty. There was a thick carpet in the living room, but as soon as he stepped on it, it turned into ashes. The same was true for the chairs placed there. With a slight touch, those things seemed to be made of powder, shattering and turning into a cloud of dust. Lazi cursed nonstop. He was about to go crazy. Lei Xingfeng stopped in the living room. This time, he didn't run after Lazi. Instead, he stood there thinking. The original owner of the forbidden area must have a storage method similar to a hidden Lun space. Such good things would definitely be kept by himself. Just the things in the room, unless they were forgotten, shouldn't be very valuable. Sure enough, Lazi came down from upstairs with a face full of bad luck. "Damn, there's nothing. There's nothing here." Wu Yang said, "This should be a residential area. It's normal that there's nothing here. It seems that if there's something, then the tower should be an important place." Lei Xingfeng agreed. "I think so too. The tower should be a place to work. This should be a residential area. There shouldn't be anything important here." Lazi gradually calmed down. He nodded. "That's right. The tower is the target. Feng Qinzong said, there are gold rank puppets in the tower. I don't know how many of them there are. Those things are hard to deal with. Wu Yang drew a topographic map on the ground with the tip of his foot and said, we are now in a small courtyard at the edge. Since there is nothing here, it is easy to imagine what the other courtyards are like. So, let's focus on the 4 towers. The closest tower to us is this one. He pointed with the tip of his foot. Wu Yang continued, half of this tower has collapsed. I think, this tower has lost its defenses. It's our best target. Gucci said, that's right. Let's explore this tower first. Once we find something, we'll focus our attention on the tower. Let's hope for a good harvest. Lazi said, there will definitely be a good harvest. F***, I don't believe it. So many people have profited from the forbidden area. Are we so miserable when it's our turn? He really couldn't accept it. When he was searching, his heart was cold. Lei Xingfeng said, we don't need to leave the courtyard. Let's follow the courtyard to the back and see if there's a back door that can be opened. They passed through 2 courtyards in a row. Lazi didn't even let go of the rooms, but there was still nothing. Lazi was so angry his face turned green. Lei Xingfeng sighed inwardly. It really wasn't easy to get something useful. Even if it was a forbidden area, it wasn't ideal. For some reason, half of the tower had collapsed. When Lei Xingfeng arrived at the bottom of the tower, he realized how big the tower was. It wasn't inferior to the high-rise buildings in his previous life. The tower was made of black rock and covered with unknown patterns. They were all dark green patterns. Compared to the rough black rock, these patterns were abnormally smooth and clear. However, they weren't pasted on. Instead, they were like natural patterns on the rock. It was very strange. No one dared to touch the tower. Everyone was looking for the door to enter the tower. After circling around, they realized that there was no door at all. However, they found a crack on the tower. It was a crack as thick as a person. It was enough for them to enter. Yang was very hesitant. He said, it's best to check. Who's going in? A phone. Don't raise your hand. Everyone can go in, but you can't. Lei Xingfeng suddenly felt discouraged. Suddenly, he thought of the black bird and couldn't help but laugh. Wait a minute. I'll let the black bird take a look. The black bird had already woken up. However, this bird was very smart. It had been pretending to be dead and didn't say a word. When it heard Lei Xingfeng's words, it immediately became anxious and said, no, birds are afraid of death. It's too dangerous inside. The bird won't go. Lei Xingfeng said, you really don't want to go? The black bird suddenly trembled in fear. It relied on Lei Xingfeng's thunder and lightning every day to improve its strength bit by bit. If it wasn't for Lei Xingfeng, it knew that it wouldn't be able to improve so quickly. Therefore, when it heard this somewhat threatening sentence, it immediately became very conflicted. This, that, let the bird think about it, Lei Xingfeng said. What's there to think about? I'm just letting you fly in and see how dangerous it is. The black bird said, you make it sound easy. It's the bird that's taking the risk, not you. Of course you can talk big. Oh, this is a life and death test for the bird. Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but laugh and scold. What life and death test? I'm just letting you take a look, not letting you die. The black bird said, curiosity will kill the bird. Its tone was very sad. Wu Yang was amused and said, you bird is about to become a spirit. How can you be so smart? The black bird said, of course I'm smart. Otherwise, why would I come here and be bullied by you? AI, poor bird. You're being killed by your own cleverness. It was very narcissistic and tidied its feathers. Lei Xingfeng said, don't delay. Go. The black bird said helplessly, don't you know that you can't fly here? Really? Okay, stop calling. The bird will go. The bird will go. It jumped down from Lei Xingfeng's shoulder and jumped up along the crack. Soon, it disappeared into the crack. The 5 of them waited in the corner under the tower for a long time, but the blackbird didn't come out. Lei Xingfeng was a little nervous. In fact, he already liked the blackbird very much. Of course, he didn't want anything to happen to it. He said, how about I climb up and take a look? Wu Yang looked up and suddenly said, it's here, your bird is here. Lei Xingfeng muttered in his heart. Why do these words sound so awkward? He also looked up and saw the black bird flapping its wings at the mouth of the crack. Suddenly, everyone understood that it was signaling them to go up, which meant that there was no danger. Lazi stretched out his hand and pressed on the mouth of the crack. He immediately rushed up. His figure flashed slightly and disappeared into the crack. The others followed closely. Fortunately, the crack was about a few meters above the ground. For them, it was not a problem at all. After the 5 of them entered the crack, they immediately found that it was a corridor. The blackbird jumped onto Lei Xingfeng's shoulder and complained in a low voice. You scared the bird. Don't bully the bird like this in the future. All right, the task is completed. The bird needs a reward. Ga. Lei Xingfeng said, reward my ass. The blackbird suddenly deflated and said, don't be arrogant. Reward something else. Ga. A phone, brother phone. Lei Xingfeng suddenly had goosebumps. He said, stop, stop. Who did you learn from? A bird learning so mushy. The blackbird continued to act coquettishly. Brother phone, give me a reward. Okay. Lei Xingfeng said softly. If you speak in this tone again, I will tie your mouth. The blackbird suddenly stopped talking. It used its wings to cover its mouth. After a while, it said, stingy, bully the bird. While Lei Xingfeng was not paying attention, it stuck out its butt and pooped on Lei Xingfeng's back. It also made 2 proud squawks. Everyone laughed, listening to the man and the bird bickering, and seeing the blackbird quietly pooping on Lei Xingfeng's body. Everyone suddenly relaxed. Wu Yang said, well, let's go down this road and see what's there. This was a spiral passage that went up the tower. The 5 of them walked up carefully. Wu Yang was at the front. He was the strongest and could resist sudden attacks. Soon, Wu Yang saw a platform. The spiral passage led to this platform. As soon as Wu Yang's head appeared, he saw a figure. Without any hesitation, he rushed in and threw a punch. With a bang, the person was knocked to the ground. Xi and Feng and the rest followed him onto the platform. Gucci flashed to the side of the person who was knocked down and stomped down fiercely. That person rolled to the side, and Gucci's stomp missed as he shouted, surround and attack. Lei Xingfeng shot out a bolt of lightning. Immediately, the person's body was covered in electric arcs. Lazi suddenly pounced over and kicked that person's head. With a bang, that person didn't make a sound and grabbed Lazi's leg with a backhand. With a swing of his arm, Lazi flew out and crashed into the wall. Lei Xingfeng took a step back and said, gold-level puppet beast. With his strength, he didn't dare to go forward. He immediately retreated to the side. Feng Qinzong stood in front of him. A huge metal shield suddenly appeared in his hand. Wu Yang shouted, don't let it get away. Kill it. Lazi bared his teeth and rushed forward again. Gucci also rushed forward. The 2 of them worked together and knocked down the puppet beast again. However, this gold-level puppet beast was extremely tough. Even after taking a few heavy blows, it was still unharmed. It was just that its movements were a bit sluggish. The 3 of them surrounded it and attacked wildly. The gold-level puppet beast was very difficult to deal with. It wasn't its attack power that was strong, but its body was extremely tough. If they wanted to break it, they would have to keep attacking. Lei Xingfeng said, why don't you use seals to attack? Feng Qinzong said, I heard that gold-level puppets are basically immune to innate abilities. Only direct attacks can cause real damage. This thing is very troublesome. Lazi suddenly grabbed the back of the puppet beast's waist and shouted, cut off its head. A knife suddenly appeared in Gucci's hand. With a swing, the knife was embedded in the puppet beast's neck. Even with his full strength, he could only cut a quarter of the way in before he couldn't see any further. The doll beast struggled with all its might. Suddenly, the doll beast stamped its foot on Lazi's foot. Lazi cried out in pain, ouch! Even so, he hugged the doll beast tightly. Chapter 305. Wu Yang yelled, let me do it. F*CKU. He punched the back of the saber. With a crack, the saber cut halfway to the neck. Gucci followed up with a punch, but he did not hit the back of the saber. Even if he wanted to, he would not have been able to. The back of the saber had sunk deep into the neck. Gucci's punch hit the side of the head, and there was another crack. Lazi shouted, "Quick, come again." His struggle is weak. A sledgehammer suddenly appeared in Wu Yang's hand. He swept it horizontally and shouted, "Break!" Boom! The gold-level puppet beast's head flew out. It was killed in one hit. Lazi then let go. He hugged his leg and jumped around. F***CK. My leg. It hurts. Wu Yang looked down and said, "It's okay. It's just a flesh wound." Lazi hugged his leg and jumped around. Flesh wounds hurt too. Lei Xingfeng ran out and said, "I'll take this puppet beast." He quickly took it. The gold-level puppet beast was very complete. It had a head and a complete body. Since Wu Yang didn't object, the others also didn't object. Although Lazi muttered in his heart that he also wanted it, he couldn't bring himself to compete with the juniors. A gold-level puppet beast was much more valuable than a silver-level puppet beast. Even the fragments were very valuable. At this time, everyone started to observe the platform. In fact, when they first came up, everyone already knew that there was something on the platform. However, due to the intense battle, everyone's attention was drawn to the mannequin beast. After the mannequin beast was killed, everyone's attention was on the platform. 4 square stone piers were placed in the 4 corners of the platform. In the center of the platform was something that looked like a torch made of metal. It was dark blue in color, and on top of it was a crystal the size of a fist. However, the crystal was already dim and covered with cracks. The sky divination crystal. Wu Yang stared at the crystal in a daze. Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, "Founder, what is this?" The others also stared at it, but none of them recognized what it was. After a long while, Wu Yang took a deep breath and said, "The sky divination crystal." It was actually the sky evolution crystal. What a pity, what a pity. No one had heard of this term before. Lei Xingfeng asked, "What sky evolution crystal? What is it used for?" Wu Yang stared at the cracked heavens divination crystal. If you have a single one of these in perfect condition, you'll be able to open the secret door countless times. You won't even need to become a Tao Lord. With a heavens divination crystal, you'll be able to travel through space and into the cosmos countless times. I've only heard of this thing before, but I've never seen it with my own eyes. Lei Xingfeng understood. He thought to himself, "This is the source of energy. This thing must be very valuable." Lazi's eyes lit up as he said, "Is this thing very valuable? How much is it worth?" He had completely fallen into the eyes of money. It was no wonder. After borrowing so much money, even if he was a true monarch, he would not be able to bear it. Wu Yang said, "It's priceless." Lazi was overjoyed. He said, "Everyone, please give this heavens divination crystal to me. I don't want anything else we find later. By the way, Uncle Master, is this heavens divination crystal enough for me to repay my debt?" Wu Yang said, "It's enough. However, this heavens divination crystal has almost been used up, so it's not priceless anymore. However, it's still very valuable. Are you sure you want it?" Lazi said firmly, "I want it." Wu Yang said, "I have no objections. After all, you were the one who brought this place here. Therefore, I have no objections to giving this heavens divination crystal to you. You'll have to ask for the opinions of others." Gucci saw that his master had agreed, so he naturally would not object. He smiled and said, "I have no objections to giving it to you. However, you have to be clear. Junior brother Lazi, you won't get a share of anything we find later. Even if we find 8 or 10 heavens divination crystals, you won't get a share. Think carefully." Lazi was stunned. However, he quickly reacted. Where would he get so many heavens divination crystals? He hadn't even heard of it before. He had to protect the benefits in front of him first. No matter what, with this heavens divination crystal, he could go back and report. This large sum of money almost crushed him to death. He said, "Don't worry, I won't go back on my word." Although Feng Qinzong was a bit unwilling, since his master and senior brother agreed, he didn't have to be the bad guy. He said, "All right, I have no objections." Lei Xingfeng laughed. "Congratulations, Uncle Master Lazi. You can repay your debt when you go back." Hee, no debt, no worries. I have no objections. Give it to Uncle Master Lazi." Lazi was overjoyed. No matter what, He had achieved his goal of entering the forbidden area. Even if he didn't get anything else, this heaven's divination crystal was worth it. Thank you, Uncle Master. Thank you, Senior Brother. Thank you, Junior Brother. Thank you, Afone. At this moment, Lazi's heart was filled with gratitude. Not everyone was willing to do this. If even one person objected, Lazi would be too embarrassed to take the heaven's divination crystal. He said, "I'll go take it." Lazi walked to the front of the torch-like metal object and took the Sky Evolution crystal from it. When he took out the Sky Evolution crystal, he heard a ka-ba sound as the four corners of the room cracked. Exine Feng spoke. "The stone blocks cracked. Let me take a look." He flashed to the front of one of the stone blocks. It turned out that there was a crack in the stone block. Lei Xingfeng used his strength to lift it up. The stone block was a stone box. There were 4 grooves inside. 3 of them were empty. In one of the grooves was a heaven's divination crystal. A perfect heaven's divination crystal. Lei Xingfeng was stunned. Wu Yang asked, "What is this?" Lei Xingfeng said, "What the F***CK?" He reached out and put the heaven's divination crystal into his hidden Luin space. He turned around and asked for another corner. In an instant, he opened the stone lid. There were 4 grooves. 2 of them were empty. The other 2 were filled with heaven's divination crystals. Without saying a word, Lei Xingfeng directly took it. He flew to the 3rd stone block. This time there were still 4 grooves. However, there was only 1 heaven's divination crystal. Wu Yang and the rest did not come over. They were still studying the heaven's divination crystal that was about to run out of energy. The last stone block had 2 more heaven's divination crystals. Lei Xingfeng calculated for a moment. He had a total of 6 perfect heaven's divination crystals. Every time he took them, he would habitually close the stone lid. When the last lid was closed, there was a cracking sound. In an instant, the 4 stone blocks were completely shattered into powder. Lei Xingfeng was surprised. However, after the stone blocks were shattered into powder, there was no change. He relaxed. Returning to the group, Lei Xingfeng said with a smile, "Martial Uncle Lotzi, you lost a lot." Lotzi asked curiously, "How did I lose a lot?" Lei Xingfeng said with a smile, "Your promise just now was a big loss." Hee. Lotzi had a bad feeling. He asked, "What do you mean?" Lei Xingfeng flipped his wrist. A heaven's divination crystal appeared in his hand. He smiled and said, "Look, this heaven's divination crystal is much better than yours." The dark blue crystal was the size of a fist. It was in the shape of a date pit. It was very beautiful. Wu Yang grabbed it and said, "Oh my God, this is a perfect heaven's divination crystal. Where did you get it?" From the stone block." "How many did you get in total?" He reacted quickly and immediately understood why Exine Feng was running around randomly in the 4 corners of the room. Lei Xingfeng said with a smile, 6. They are all perfect heaven's divination crystals." He did not hide anything. Wu Yang was overjoyed. He said, "Good. I don't want any more. I just want this one." He put away the heaven's divination crystal in his hand and said, "Give 1 to your master and 1 to your martial uncle. You can keep the rest." Lei Xingfeng knew that Wu Yang was compensating him. He was not modest. He had already divided the 3 heaven's divination crystals, 1 for Yi and 1 for his little sister. He ignored Lotzi's passionate gaze. Who told him to block his path in the first place? Lotzi began to sigh beside Lei Xingfeng. His sigh made Lei Xingfeng feel less annoyed. He hid behind Wu Yang and poked his head out. "Martial Uncle Lotzi, as long as it's enough, it's enough. Don't sigh on the side." Lotzi was flustered and exasperated. "Little brat, are you just going to watch your martial uncle be poor?" Lei Xingfeng smiled. "Martial uncle, what does it have to do with me, whether or not you're poor?" Lotzi was choked speechless. His martial uncle was different from Feng Qinzong. He was much more distant. If he was polite, he was a martial uncle. If they were friends, he was a senior. If there was no relationship, he was just a stranger. Wu Yang chuckled. "Lotzi, whatever we get later has nothing to do with you." Lotzi slapped himself. "Who told you to have such a foul mouth? Daring to promise anything. Now I'm in trouble. Retribution. Sigh. I'm such a F***king idiot." Everyone laughed. Lotzi scratched his ears and cheeks. This was a huge loss. A perfect heavens divination crystal. If he could get one and embed it in his secret door, the outer realm would be smooth sailing. How could he calm down? He was sure that the heavens divination crystal had many other uses. He just wasn't familiar with it and hadn't discovered them yet. I'm such an idiot. Sigh, 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 sigh. Lotzi couldn't stop complaining to himself. If it was just this harvest, it wouldn't be a big deal. But he also promised that he wouldn't want anything else. What could be more stupid than this? He was like a donkey in a mill, spinning in circles. As he spun, he cursed. Not at others, but at himself. Lei Xingfeng said, "Right, do you want this thing? If not, I'll take it." He pointed at the torch-like metal object that held the heavens divination crystal. Wu Yong said, "Mem, you take it. I don't want it." He said he didn't want it. Gucci and Feng Qinzong wouldn't fight for it. As for Lotzi, he didn't have the right to fight for it. Xi and Feng directly broke it in half and kept it in his hidden Luin space. Even if he didn't know what it was used for, even if it was taken apart as a raw material, it was still a good thing. He was very thrifty and wouldn't waste anything. Chapter 306. Wu Yang was very satisfied. With a piece of sky evolution crystal, he would not need to borrow the help of others when he came to the extraterritorial starry sky in the future. He could even bring some friends with him. Such a good thing was unimaginable in the past. Lazi sighed again and again. Wu Yang said, "Shall we continue?" Everyone agreed and began a search. Because there was only half of the tower left, they quickly finished searching. Other than the sky divination crystal, they didn't find anything else. It was all empty platforms. Lazi felt a bit better. If they found anything else of high value, he'd probably go crazy. It was too stimulating. Feng Qinzong was disappointed. Too bad we only found a few sky divination crystals. There's nothing else. Lazi couldn't help but curse. You're still not satisfied with the sky divination crystal? Give it to me. I promise I'll be very satisfied. Sigh. Feng Qinzong didn't dare to say anything else. He knew that Lazi was in torment. Whoever went up to tease him would be unlucky. Lei Xingfeng smiled. I'm sure this time's harvest will be great. Wu Yang's interest was piqued. Why is that? Other than Lazi, everyone here knew that Lei Xingfeng's luck was heaven-defying. So they took his words seriously. Lei Xingfeng said, "How many towers are there in total?" Hearing this, the crowd came to a realization. They had already obtained 6 heaven divination crystals from this half-finished tower. There were still 3 more towers. Not to mention other things, it shouldn't be a problem to obtain a few more heaven divination crystals. Wu Yang clapped. That's right, that's right. Haha, forget about everything else. If everyone can get 1 more sky divination crystal, it shouldn't be a problem. Of course, Lazi doesn't count. Lazi's tears fell. I was wrong, okay. You can't bully me like this. Sigh, sigh, sigh. Lei Xingfeng said, Marshal Uncle Lazi, you're crying. Lotzi cried, how can I not cry, you? He wanted to say that they shouldn't bully him like this, but when he thought of his own promise and how he was so damn determined, he couldn't say anything. This path was provided by Lazi. In the end, he picked up a sesame seed and threw away a watermelon. He had even specially suggested it, wanted to take advantage of it. In the end, he didn't manage to take advantage of it. This was a huge loss, and he couldn't change his words. A true monarch's promise was very serious. Wu Yang said grumpily, Lotzi, you're a true monarch, not a *king ordinary person. Yes, Sherbois, Lazi said tearfully, yes, Sherbois. This time he really cried. Lei Xingfeng was also dumbfounded. He whispered, Master, we made Marshal Uncle Lotzi cry. Gucci chuckled and said, it's not the first time he's cried. Don't worry about him. Lei Xingfeng simply did not know what to say. This was a true monarch? True monarch. He nodded and said, all right, I didn't see anything. Wu Yang said, every tower should have a gold-level puppet beast. With our strength, we can quickly kill it in a sneak attack. Then, we can search for the sky divination crystal. After we get it, we can go to the next tower. I believe that the remaining towers won't disappoint us. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, the requirements aren't high. Every tower has to contribute 4 sky divination crystals. Hee, will really be rich. Lazi cried even more when he heard this. What saddened him the most was that not only did he not have a share in these things, but he also had to work hard to kill the puppet beasts. After killing the puppet beasts, there would be nothing for him to do. Was there anything more tragic than this? Wu Yang said, "Let's choose which tower to go to first." Lei Xingfeng said, "We'll walk along the periphery, but we don't know if it's safe." From what I see, these 4 towers are not used for battle, but for energy. Otherwise, there wouldn't only be one gold-level puppet beast. If it's an offensive tower, there will definitely be a group of puppet beasts inside. These towers gave him the feeling that they were places like power plants in his previous life. Wu Yang nodded and said, "That's right, I feel the same way. These 4 towers do not seem to be defensive or offensive." Gucci said, "Let's walk along the periphery first. Hopefully, we can pass through it smoothly." Wu Yang said, "All right, I'll take the lead. You guys follow. Be careful. As long as there aren't a large number of puppet beasts surrounding us, we won't be in danger." Lei Xingfeng said, "From the looks of it, the puppet beasts here won't all attack us. They seem to each be in charge of an area. As long as we don't enter their area, they will ignore us. This gives us a chance to attack them one by one." Ha! The 5 of them exited the tower and snuck along the edge of the building towards another tower. Soon, the 5 of them entered the tower. Wu Yang said, "Do you guys feel that something is wrong?" Lei Xingfeng said, "What's wrong?" Wu Yang said, "My sense of danger has almost completely disappeared." Gucci said, That's right. I had that feeling too. I was feeling uneasy at first, but after leaving the tower, that feeling disappeared." Lei Xingfeng said, "Maybe it's because we collected the sky divination crystal." Wu Yang said, "Forget it. Let's go up and search for other sky divination crystals." He followed the spiraling tunnel and quickly moved forward. The 5 of them arrived at the hall. There were no gold puppet beasts here. The only thing in the middle of the hall was the same as the previous tower. There was a torch-like object with a sky divination crystal on it. It was also covered in cracks. There were 4 stone blocks in the 4 corners. Wu Yang reached out and grabbed the sky divination crystal. There were a few cracking sounds. Lei Xingfeng pounced on one of the stone blocks. After opening it, there were also 4 grooves. 2 sky divination crystals. Gucci pounced on another stone block. Feng Shenzong also chose a stone block to open. Lazi also rushed to a stone block. His face was filled with excitement. As long as he could get the sky divination crystal, he would get it no matter what, even if he had to play dirty. Feng Shenzong found 1 sky divination crystal. Gucci and Lei Xingfeng both found 2. Only Lazi's luck was really bad. When he opened it, there were 4 empty grooves. He didn't get a single sky divination crystal. He wailed in front of the stone block. "There's no justice in this world." Hurried footsteps sounded. Wu Yang yelled, "Careful!" A gold puppet beast flew out from a tunnel. It was charging at them aggressively. Wu Yang was already charging at the puppet beast. After the previous battle, he knew how strong gold puppets were, so he was very relaxed. With a loud bang, the puppet beast retreated. Wu Yang immediately noticed the problem. He said, "It seems that the puppet beast is weak." Gucci also rushed over and blocked the mannequin beast's path. After the 2 exchanged blows, Gucci shouted, "No, this mannequin beast is weaker than a silver-level mannequin. What's going on?" Xian Feng raised his hand and shot out a bolt of lightning. The thick lightning struck the gold-level mannequin beast. In an instant, that gold-level mannequin beast froze like a statue. Wu Yang and the others couldn't help but look at each other. What was going on? Lazi was shocked. "It's not moving." A thought flashed through Lei Xingfeng's mind. He walked up and stretched out a finger. With a gentle push, the puppet beast fell to the ground. According to Lei Xingfeng's understanding, this guy's energy must have been depleted. This should have something to do with the Sky Evolution Crystal. The Sky Evolution Crystal from 2 towers had been taken away. This meant that the defense of this place was completely broken. Wu Yang also reacted. He said, "This must have something to do with the Sky Evolution Crystal being taken away." Lei Xingfeng reached out and put the complete gold puppet beast into his hidden Lewin space. He smiled and said, "I want this." Lazi hurriedly said, "You can have it, but you have to compensate with something else." Wu Yang said, "There's no need for compensation. If a phone wants it, then give it to him." He received too many benefits from Lei Xingfeng. He didn't know how to compensate him. If there was something Lei Xingfeng wanted, he would be happy to give it to him. At the very least, it would be enough to compensate him. Lazi immediately withered. After a while, he said, "Why am I so unlucky? Everyone else's stone stool has something, but mine is empty." Lei Xingfeng snickered. He said, "I didn't see anything." He found it funny. He thought to himself, "You dare to bully me? Then I'll give you a hard time too." Feng Chenzong said, "Yeah, we all got something, but you got nothing. That can't be right." Gucci said, "You should have at least one." Wu Yang said, "Is that so? There shouldn't be any left for Lazi." "Lazi, why did you open a stone stool?" Lazi fainted. He couldn't explain himself. He wailed, I really don't have anything here. Martial uncle, I'm innocent." At this moment, he suddenly understood how evil Lei Xingfeng was. Just one sentence put him in an inexplicable situation. Lei Xingfeng said, "Martial uncle Lazi is quite pitiful. Just give him the stone stool's harvest." Martial uncle Lazi was the one who found it after all. He held back his laughter. Lazi almost spat out blood. If there really was a harvest, then so be it. But there was nothing. Lei Xingfeng's casual words made him completely speechless. He said angrily, "A phone. Do you have a grudge against me?" Lei Xingfeng said, It's hard to be a good person. Fine, we don't have a grudge. I was just joking. Don't take it to heart, Martial Uncle Lazi. Ha! Then hand over the sky divination crystal you took from the stone stool. Lazi was stunned. He knew he couldn't explain himself anymore. He immediately regretted it. Why did he provoke Lei Xingfeng? Wu Yang said, "Forget it. Let's not talk about it anymore. Let's go to the next tower." This sentence made Lazi's heart thump. She directly ignored it. It didn't matter if you took it or not. She wouldn't pursue the matter. But Lazi felt aggrieved. He clearly didn't take anything. He opened his mouth and finally closed it tightly. His eyes revealed extreme grievance. Gucci went up and patted him lightly. He said, "Little guy, you're just joking." Ha. Lazi seemed to have found an outlet. He grabbed Gucci and said, Senior brother, I'm innocent. I really didn't take." He was a monarch, but he was scared shitless by Lei Xingfeng's words. Chapter 307. Gucci smiled perfunctorily. Okay, we got it. Let's go." Suddenly, he realized that no one wanted to bicker with him. Even if there really was a sky evolution crystal, no one wanted to take it back. It was because of his unsatisfied appearance that he was struck by Xian Feng's words, causing him to die passively. At this moment, Lazi felt a trace of fear towards Lei Xingfeng. Lei Xingfeng might not be as strong as him, but the consequences of provoking him would be unbearable. The third tower was even smoother this time. After collecting all the sky divination crystals, the gold-class doll froze and was taken away by Lei Xingfeng. Lazi still didn't get anything. Wu Yang and the others each collected 1 or 2 sky divination crystals. Lei Xingfeng already had 7 sky divination crystals. Lazi's eyes were red, but he couldn't get a complete sky divination crystal. He could only follow the others and sigh the whole way. The last tower was even easier. The sky evolution crystal in the middle of the hall had already shattered, while the gold-level mannequin beast stood stiffly at the side. Xian Feng did not take the mannequin beast this time. He spoke, "Ancestor, master, this mannequin beast is complete. Who wants it?" Lazi interrupted without hesitation. "I want it," Wu Yang said. "It's none of your business. Give it to me. When we get back, we'll take it apart and see if we can copy it. This thing's power is okay, but it's too stupid." He put the doll away and said, "We'll each take a stone block. Whoever finds it gets it." Lei Xingfeng flashed to a stone block. He opened the stone cover and was overjoyed. 2 more. He laughed to himself. His luck was really good. He didn't come empty-handed. He put away the sky divination crystals. There were 9 of them in total. This time, Wu Yang and Lei Xingfeng got 2 each. Gucci got 1, and Feng Qinzong got 1. Lazi looked at them and didn't get anything. Xi and Feng continued to walk forward, breaking the torch-like object in half and keeping it. The harvest of the 4 towers made Wu Yang and the others smile. Of course, this didn't include Lazi. This guy would never have thought that his greed would lead to such a huge loss. After searching the towers, all that was left was the cluster of buildings surrounded by the towers. When Wu Yang and the others entered a courtyard, they immediately found that all the silver-class dolls were frozen. There were more than 30 silver-class dolls, all of them intact. The sky divination crystals on the towers had been taken away, so they had lost the ability to move. This time, everyone split the silver-level mannequins equally, each of them taking a few. Xi and Feng got 7 perfect silver-level mannequins. Even Lazi got 4. This fellow immediately started to act shamelessly, pouncing on the motionless mannequins to take. Wu Yang and the others didn't bother too much. After all, they were all friends. Lazi's expression improved. For intact silver-class dolls should be able to sell for a lot of rings. Without the protection of the sky divination crystal, the cluster of buildings began to collapse. Before Wu Yang and the others could finish searching, many buildings had already collapsed. According to Xi and Feng's estimation, if it wasn't for the protection of the sky evolution crystal, this group of buildings would have long turned to dust before they could even arrive. The 4 towers were the same. In less than a day, the cracked tower had already collapsed, while the other 3 were also on the verge of collapse. After a few days of searching, they basically did not find anything useful. Other than the sky divination crystal, there were only gold and silver rank humanoid puppets. Even with these 3 items, Wu Yang and the others were already satisfied. After entering the forbidden area, there were countless people who returned empty-handed. The harvest this time was already great. Wu Yang decided to leave. This time's harvest was enough. There was no need to continue taking risks, especially now that they had the sky divination crystal. As long as they made some slight changes to the door, they could come here to explore more often. They wouldn't have to spend any more rings or owe too many favors. When the 5 of them left the forbidden area, Feng Qinzong found Lazi beaming with joy. Feng Qinzong was very curious. This guy was like a madman in the forbidden area, sighing all day long. But when he came out, he had a completely different appearance. Feng Qinzong couldn't understand him at all. What Feng Qinzong didn't know was that Lazi got a complete sky divination crystal. It was Lei Xingfeng who secretly gave it to him. It wasn't that Lei Xingfeng wanted to be a good person, but that Lei Xingfeng knew that a monarch who hated you and a monarch who was friendly were worlds apart. He definitely didn't want a monarch who hated him. Plus, he got 9 sky divination crystals this time. Giving 1 to Lazi was nothing, but he could gain the friendship of a monarch. Lazi was very surprised, but he was very excited after getting the sky divination crystal. He also had a sky divination crystal full of cracks. That was enough to pay off his debt. The new sky divination crystal could be embedded in his door, so he was very grateful to Lei Xingfeng, especially since Lei Xingfeng secretly gave it to him so that Lazi could keep his face as a monarch. This was something he cared about a lot. Because of this, Lazi was very grateful. Because he liked to take advantage of others, Lazi didn't have many friends. If it wasn't for his sect, he wouldn't have cooperated with Wu Yang. Lei Xingfeng was very clear that he was able to rope in a monarch without anyone noticing. This world was the same as his previous world in some aspects. For example, connections. Without connections, it wasn't enough to rely on himself. He needed the support of many high-level cultivators. Whether it was resources or exploration, he couldn't do it without help. Don't look at how Xi and Feng tormented Lazi in the tower. That was because he relied on ancestor Wu Yang to suppress him. He also left an impression in Lazi's heart that this little fellow wasn't to be trifled with. Once he was provoked, he would retaliate to the point of death. This way, the other party wouldn't easily ignore him, and if he gave him some benefits, then he wouldn't be inferior to others. This was something he grasped very well. Lei Xingfeng had always believed that there was no such thing as love or hatred without reason in this world. Communication required not only a sincere heart, but also a certain level of skill. It wasn't as if others would appreciate your kindness. Some top-quality bastards would take it for granted even if you showed them kindness. They wouldn't even blink when angering you to death. He was very careful about this point. After leaving the forbidden area, everyone let out a sigh of relief. The forbidden area gave off an enormous invisible pressure. Although they didn't encounter any danger, it still made them feel extremely uncomfortable. Only after leaving the forbidden area could they completely relax. After leaving the snow rice peak, under the lead of Wu Yang, everyone flew to a grassland in a valley and landed. This was a barren grassland without any animals. There was a large amount of gravel on the ground, and there were strangely shaped rocks on both sides. Wu Yang said, "It's safer here. There should be a small pool over there. Let's walk over and rest by the pool." Beside a few giant rocks was a pool of water. Wu Yang said, "All right, here it is." Lei Xingfeng had already seen the traces of a camp by the pool. There were also a lot of charcoal ashes. He asked, "Do people come here often?" Wu Yang said, "These are the traces we left behind in the past. Don't worry." When Wu Yang was a true monarch, he came to the outer realm many times. After becoming a sky monarch, he came here even more often. Many times, he came here with his master. But in the past 100 years, his master hadn't returned. No one knew where he went. So in the past 100 years, Wu Yang rarely went to the outer realm. If it wasn't for collecting materials and bringing Feng Qinzong to see the world, he wouldn't have spent so many yin rings. But this time, he actually obtained the sky divination crystal. It was a pleasant surprise. He glanced at Lei Xingfeng. He was sure it was Lei Xingfeng who brought him good luck. Lei Xingfeng began to boil water. It was a tiring journey. At least there was hot soup to drink. Even if it was just dry food, it would make them feel better. Wu Yang took out a silver-level puppet beast and carefully observed it. Guqi, Feng Qinzong, Lei Xingfeng, and La Zi all gathered around. Lei Xingfeng asked, "Ancestor, has anyone caught this kind of puppet beast before?" Wu Yang said, "Yes, but no one knows how it works. Every time we take it apart, we can't put it back together. The puppet beast we got this time is more precious. It's a complete one. I heard that there are people who collect these things, especially complete ones. They will pay a high price." La Zi's face lit up. His eyes were too small right now, and he couldn't breathe under the pressure of a large sum of money. When he heard about money, he couldn't remain calm. The money here was, of course, referring to yin rings. The bodies of the silver mannequins were basically made of metal and some unknown materials. There were all kinds of patterns on their bodies, and some mannequins even wore thick metal armor to increase their defense. Xian Feng spoke. "It seems that no matter if it's the silver or gold-level mannequins, their strength isn't enough." Wu Yang couldn't help but laugh. "Feng, you're wrong. I dare say that if it was in the ancient times, I might not even be able to beat a gold-level puppet beast. But now, after so many years, it can still exchange a few blows with me. Do you think this thing is weak?" Lei Xingfeng suddenly understood. If this thing had enough energy, its attack power would be terrifying. The only reason they were able to get it so easily was because its energy was basically depleted. If its energy was depleted and there was no way to replenish it, even a gold-level puppet beast would have completely rotted. Lei Xingfeng said, "I don't know how to fix it. I'll think about it when we get home." Feng Qinzong laughed. Feng, forget it. So many experts can't figure out. Just forget about it." Lei Xingfeng said, "Hey, young martial uncle, don't look down on me. I might be able to fix it." La Zi said, "If you can fix it, haha, then it'll be so cool. It'll be so much better than having guards." Feng, I have faith in you. Good luck." Wu Yang and Guqi looked at La Zi curiously. When did this guy become so straightforward? And he acted like he had a good relationship with Lei Xingfeng. How strange. Feng Qinzong couldn't help but ask, "When did you guys become so close?" Chapter 308. Lei Xingfeng couldn't help but laugh. "Young martial uncle, are you mistaken? We've always been on good terms." Just as Feng Qinzong was about to say something, La Zi said, "When you became a monarch, I already met a Feng. We were very close then. We hit off. Gucci shook his head in surprise. He knew all too well what kind of person Lazi was. Wu Yang looked at Lei Xingfeng thoughtfully and smiled. He seemed to have understood something. However, he was happy that Lei Xingfeng was able to maintain a good relationship with Lazi. Offending a monarch wasn't a joke. Although Xian Feng was tormenting Lotzi before, that was because Lotzi wanted to bully him, which was why he retaliated. But after that, Xian Feng didn't continue to treat him as an enemy. He wouldn't do such a stupid thing. Perhaps a young lad would do such a stupid thing, but Xian Feng had lived 2 lives. He still had this bit of knowledge. Xian Feng purposely changed the topic. Ancestor, if we can reactivate the mannequin beast, our gains will be huge. Even if we can't copy it, a mannequin beast that can fight against a monarch, that's already a powerful weapon. Wu Yang sighed. Many people have this idea. In the past 100 years, no one has tried. In the past, just the fragments of the doll beast were very valuable. Now, only a few people are still collecting them. Most experts have given up. It's too difficult to repair it. Lei Xingfeng said, "How do you know if you don't try?" He already had the idea of dismantling the doll beast. Wu Yang said, "If you want to dismantle it, I'll give you all the doll beast I have collected." Gucci also said, "If a Feng wants it, I'll give him mine too." Feng Qinzong and Lazi didn't speak. After a while, Lazi said embarrassedly, "A Feng, I owe a lot of money. I can't give you the doll beast I have. I'm planning to sell it." Lei Xingfeng smiled. "Master and Ancestor gave me enough. I've collected quite a lot myself. It should be enough for me." In fact, he didn't have much confidence in reactivating the doll beast, but he wanted to try. Maybe he would succeed. Failure wasn't a big deal, but if he succeeded, then it would be amazing. Feng Qinzong said, "We should explore further. We're about to enter the Forbidden Land." Wu Yang's face sank. "Little guy, you haven't seen the land's power. Is this going to be successful?" Feng Qinzong nodded, a little afraid. "It doesn't seem that difficult." Wu Yang said, "That's because you haven't come into contact with the danger level at all. Take the place Lazi took us to. If it was a supreme, even if you could deal with the 3 silver-level puppets on the platform, you wouldn't be able to deal with the gold-level puppets on the tower, let alone the 3 silver-level puppets on the platform. Besides, there's nothing in that forbidden area except the sky divination crystal on the tower. What's more, the tower's defense is the most terrifying." Feng Qinzong could only smile bitterly. If he was alone, or if there was another monarch, the two of them wouldn't be able to suppress everything. They might have to run away. Not to mention the sky divination crystal. They'd be lucky to come out alive. Lei Xingfeng smiled. "We didn't encounter extreme danger, and we didn't encounter a place of certain death. People will always have fantasies." Wu Yang understood this very well. He nodded. "Yes, by then, it will be too late to regret. Little Feng, although you're a monarch now, it's still the most dangerous time. Do you understand?" Feng Qinzong said straightforwardly, "I don't understand." How could he understand? His strength had grown almost tenfold from 9th ring to true monarch. The result of this sudden increase in strength was a surge in confidence. He had a feeling that he was invincible, and this feeling would definitely be the culprit that killed him in the outer realm. Wu Yang sighed. "When you become a monarch, your heart needs to match your strength. Otherwise, you'll die very quickly. The reason we took you to the outer realm is to let you adjust quickly. A monarch isn't an invincible existence in the outer realm. There are too many dangers that can put you in danger. With your strength, you won't be able to escape." Gucci said, "As long as you're careful, it won't be a big problem. I'm just afraid that after you break through, you won't have anything to worry about. That's the real problem." Feng Qinzong smiled. "Master, senior brother, you're overthinking it." Wu Yang sighed inwardly. Sometimes, persuasion is useless. Only by suffering can one understand. The scary thing is that after you fall into danger, you can't escape. Even if you understand this, what's the use? You'll die. There's nothing left. Lei Xingfeng was secretly vigilant, but this had nothing to do with him. He didn't have the right to be proud. They boiled a pot of soup and ate some dry food with it. Lei Xingfeng took out the fishman wine and gave each of them a bottle. This wine was delicious and could relax them. In a place like this where danger lurked everywhere. Relaxing a little was the most enjoyable. Lazi was surprised. A phone, you have such good stuff? This must be a good wine hidden in the blackfish's cellar. Lei Xingfeng laughed. How is it? Not bad, right? Lazi said, it's not just not bad. This wine is a treasure. Back in the day, he also went to Blackwater to get some of the blackfish's hidden wine. In the end, he didn't get anything. In the end, he had to spend 100 rings to buy some fishman wine. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know what it tasted like. Lei Xingfeng flipped his wrist, and a drum-shaped wine barrel appeared. He said, here, a black wooden barrel. It can hold the fishman wine for a long time. This was a medium-quality barrel that could hold 50 caddies of wine. In his hidden Luin space, there were more than 1,000 barrels of wine like this. The amount of fishman wine he got back then was too much. Lazi wanted to ask for it, but he was afraid of Wu Yang's scolding, so he held back. He planned to ask for more when no one was around. He didn't expect Lei Xingfeng to give it to him of his own accord. This barrel, according to his estimation, could hold at least 40 bottles. This was a lot of value. He was very happy. Feng Qinzong said, Master, where are we going next? Wu Yang thought for a moment and said, let's go to Bo Nujing. Bo Nujing was a relatively dangerous place in the extraterrestrial starry sky. There was a forbidden area there. Of course, Wu Yang didn't want to enter the forbidden area. He wanted to wander around the forbidden area. There were abundant resources there, but it was also very dangerous. He needed to be careful. Gucci immediately understood his master's intention. He wanted to make Feng Qinzong suffer. Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, Bo Nujing? What a strange name. Wu Yang said, the name of this place is indeed strange. Bo Nujing is the name of a forbidden area. It is very famous and is also the most rumored forbidden area. Someone once went in and came out. It is said that there are countless treasures inside, but for some reason, the entrance of the forbidden area was closed. No one can open it, not even Dao monarchs. Lei Xingfeng said, well, if we can't go in, what are we going to do there? Wu Yang said, although we can't enter the forbidden area, there are plenty of resources around it. Before we leave, it's good to collect more resources. Lei Xingfeng nodded in agreement. They came here to collect resources. Of course, the more the better. Wu Yang was the only one who understood the situation. Everything was decided by him, so Lei Xingfeng didn't have any objections. Gucci was a little worried. Although he didn't come here often, he understood the situation. Of course, he knew how dangerous the forbidden area was. But thinking that his master wanted to teach Feng Qinzong a lesson, he said helplessly, okay, then let's go to Bo Nujing. But be careful. It's really dangerous there. After the break, Wu Yang said, it will take 4 to 5 days to get to Bo Nujing. It will be a difficult journey. Everyone must be mentally prepared and be ready to fight at any time. Bo Nujing Forbidden Area covered an area of about 100 square kilometers. It was a forbidden area that couldn't be entered. The area around the forbidden area was nearly 1,000 square kilometers. There were plenty of resources and minerals. At the same time, there were all kinds of fierce beasts. Occasionally, there were even star beasts. The terrain was complex and the scenery was beautiful. Lei Xingfeng had been in agreement ever since he entered the forbidden area. The scenery was just too beautiful. Mountains rose and fell. Mist rose. Flowers and trees appeared and disappeared. Strange rocks were everywhere. From time to time, flocks of birds could be seen flying overhead. Wild flowers swayed in the wind. The air was filled with a faint floral fragrance. Many ancient trees were entwined with ancient vines, leaving behind strange shapes. Between the branches of the trees, there were often orchids hanging down. Even Wu Yang, who wasn't sensitive to the scenery, couldn't help but praise, not to mention Exine Feng. This fellow loved to travel in his previous life, hoping to climb mountains and hills. As a person who loved to explore, seeing this kind of scenery, of course he would be extremely excited. The 5 of them flew close to the ground. When they reached the forbidden area of Bo Nujing, they landed on the ground and walked forward. No one dared to fly near the forbidden area. Traps would appear out of nowhere. If they weren't careful, they could trigger a trap. The trap might not be fatal, but if there were a few people, they could be separated. For a small team, this could be fatal. Therefore, the 5 of them walked on the ground obediently. Even if there was a terrifying heaven monarch expert like Wu Yang, they still didn't dare to fly in the sky. Wu Yang said, "All right, let's stop here. We'll move around here. Don't go further. If we go further, we'll enter the forbidden area. There are quite a lot of traps. If we're not careful, we'll suffer." Lei Xingfeng stared into the distance. There was a light in the distance. It meant that there was something underground, and it was something good. "Can't we go?" Wu Yang said. "It's best not to go. If we go, we have to move together. Someone has to be on guard." Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and said, "Then don't go. It's a pity. If everyone had a gold-class puppet beast, we wouldn't be afraid." Chapter 309. Wu Yang said, "Not to mention a gold-level puppet, it would be great if there was a silver-level puppet on guard. What a pity. With a puppet on guard, if there was danger, he could at least let the puppet take the hit while he stayed on the side. Whether he ran or fought, he had a lot more options and wouldn't be forced into a passive situation." Wu Yang said, "Phone, follow me. The rest of you can spread out and look for treasures on your own." Ha! This time, he didn't remind them of anything and just let Lei Xingfeng stay by his side. Gucci said, "Okay, everyone, pay attention. If there's danger, send out the signal immediately. Don't hold on by yourself." Feng Qinzong and La Zi were both eager to give a try. The two agreed and immediately ran away. Wu Yang looked at Feng Qinzong's back and sighed softly. He shook his head and said, "A Feng is better at holding on. This child is still too inexperienced." Lei Xingfeng laughed. "Ancestor, you're thinking too much." "Ha. Martial uncle isn't stupid." Wu Yang said, "Of course he isn't stupid. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become a monarch. There are some things that only a fool can do." Lei Xingfeng asked, "Ancestor, where are we going?" Wu Yang smiled. "I'll take you to a good place." Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, "What good place? Why don't you take them with you?" Wu Yang explained, "The main thing is to let little Feng experience the dangers of this place so that he won't be overconfident. Don't worry, your master will follow. Haha." No matter what happened, the two monarchs will be able to hold on until Wu Yang came back, so he wasn't worried. Lei Xingfeng finally understood his ancestors' plan. Wu Yang was really good to his disciples, letting them train as much as possible. Wu Yang led the way, with Lei Xingfeng following. The two walked quickly on the ground. Lei Xingfeng laughed. "Ancestor, what good place is it? Is there a mine?" Wu Yang said, "We'll know when we get there." Lei Xingfeng said helplessly, "All right, I'll listen to you." If the founder wanted to keep them in suspense, there was nothing he could do. After walking for a full 20 minutes, the two of them arrived at the bottom of a cliff. There was a waterfall flowing down with a roaring sound. There were ancient trees all around, all of them over 100 meters tall. Standing beside the waterfall, Wu Yang said with a smile, "This is a good place. Follow me." He leapt up. Lei Xingfeng hurriedly followed. Wu Yang hovered in the middle of the waterfall and said with a smile, "There is a huge cave behind this waterfall. It used to be the nest of a star beast. Later on, the star beast was killed by a joint effort. I always felt that there was something good here, but I didn't have the time to search. This time, I brought you along to take a look." Lei Xingfeng could vaguely see the shadow behind the waterfall. It indeed seemed hollow. This waterfall was extremely wide, more than 200 meters wide, and more than 3,000 meters high. It was extremely spectacular. Moreover, the water was rushing down at high speed. Without a certain level of strength, it was impossible to rush in. Star beast nest. Lei Xingfeng was shocked. He had vaguely seen a star beast before, but he didn't see it clearly. That time in the great stone fields, he saw the shadow of a stone star beast, but he didn't know what it looked like. The only thing he knew was that everyone had left the great stone fields at that time. No one dared to stay. Lei Xingfeng said, "Ancestor, there won't be a star beast inside, right?" Wu Yang said, "There shouldn't be." Lei Xingfeng said with a bit of fear, "I hope we don't run into it. It's a bit scary." Wu Yang asked curiously, "You're scared?" Lei Xingfeng nodded honestly and said, "Before I run into it, I would be scared. But after I run into it, I'm basically not scared anymore. Wu Yang said with a smile, when your strength rises to the level of a monarch, you won't be afraid of anything. Follow me. He rushed into the waterfall. With a bang, water splashed everywhere. Wu Yang had already rushed into the waterfall. Lei Xingfeng said, Bird, you have to hold on tight. Otherwise, you'll become a drowned bird. The black bird had already tightly grasped Lei Xingfeng's collar. It said so annoying. Everything was fine. Why did you go into the water? Lei Xingfeng had already rushed into the waterfall. There was a depression behind the waterfall, so there was a large space to stay. After Lei Xingfeng rushed through the waterfall, he saw a huge hole. It was 80 meters wide and 300 meters tall. Wu Yang stood at the edge with a smile, watching Lei Xingfeng rush over. Because of the protection of Li, Lei Xingfeng did not get wet. He landed beside Wu Yang and said, the force of the water is strong enough. I almost got washed in. Wu Yang walked into the hole. Lei Xingfeng followed. He looked around. At this time, he saw a huge claw mark on the wall. He said in surprise, this hole was dug out. The thick claw mark was a few meters deep and almost a meter wide. One could imagine how huge the star beast was. Wu Yang smiled. That's impossible. But it's true that star beasts can expand their habitat. Lei Xingfeng said, this guy's claw is really powerful. How big is this star beast? Wu Yang said, it's not that big. An adult star beast is about 10 meters long or 20 meters long. It depends on the species of the star beast, but star beasts are born with elemental skills. For example, this star beast is a star-eroding beast. It belongs to the dark gold attribute and likes to eat all kinds of metal ores. Its body is like metal and normal attacks are useless against it. However, there is an attribute that can restrain the star-eroding beast. Lei Xingfeng said, what element? Wu Yang smiled. Your element. The thunder element counters the eroding star beast. Lei Xingfeng said happily, so if I meet an eroding star beast, I don't have to be afraid. Wu Yang said, your element counters. The absolute difference in strength is too big. You still can't beat an eroding star beast. Lei Xingfeng said dejectedly, Okay. Grandmaster, you don't have to put me down like this. Wu Yang laughed out loud and said, Feng, your element is very special, and it's a very advantageous one. It can restrain many other elements. Even if you can't restrain them, you can still go against them, so don't be discouraged. Lei Xingfeng said, no matter how good the element is, it's useless if you're not strong enough. Wu Yang smiled and said, I brought you here this time to see the outer space. Haha, before you become a monarch, you won't have the chance to come here again. Lei Xingfeng touched his nose and said, that might not be the case. Wu Yang paused and then understood. Obtaining so many sky evolution crystals this time was equivalent to opening the door to the outer space. He said, okay, maybe you will come again in the future. Feng, you have to remember that when you come here, you have to follow a heaven monarch realm expert. Lei Xingfeng said, can't a true monarch? Wu Yang shook his head and said, no, a heaven monarch can help you when you're in danger. A true monarch can at most protect himself. No matter how good a friend is, when it comes to a matter of life and death, he has to protect himself first. Everyone will do the same. Lei Xingfeng admitted that Wu Yang was right. If he was in such a situation, except for a few family members, he might not care about anything else. However, if it was someone else, he would definitely protect his own life first. Okay, I admit. If I come again, I will find a strong person to bring me. Wu Yang said, I suggest that you come less often before you advance. Although this place is rich in resources, most of the materials are not for true monarchs. The materials you find in the outer space are enough for you. The outer space is the place you should go. Lei Xingfeng said, I know, but Ancestral Master, what do you think you will do if you eat dry rations after eating a delicious meal? Wu Yang smiled and said, yes, of course I will want to eat a delicious meal. He understood what Lei Xingfeng meant. After eating good food, he would naturally not be willing to eat bad food again. After coming to the outer space, he would not be willing to go to the outer space. The difference between the two was too big. Lei Xingfeng said, "Ancestral Master, what good things are here that are worth coming back to look for again? Why didn't you come back after hunting the astral eclipse beast last time?" Wu Yong said, "It was too late. Moreover, the harvest last time was very rich, so I neglected this place." Lei Xingfeng said, "What was neglected here?" Wu Yong smiled and said, "That is good stuff. Because of time constraints, we did not have time to look for the astral eclipse beast's nest. I was the one who deduced this place." Lei Xingfeng was getting more and more curious. He said, "Will there be a lot of mined ores in the nest? You should know how the stone star beast eats all kinds of ores. As long as a stone star beast finds an ore vein, it will dig at one end of the vein and spit out a thick black mist." Haha, why is the eclipse star beast named Eclipse? It's because this black mist has a strong ability to melt metal ores. Once the metal in the ores fuses with the black mist, it just needs to suck it in. Wu Yong suddenly laughed and said, "That's the nest of the stone star beast. Don't even think about finding a natural ore. You should know how the stone star beast eats ores. So think about it. Why would there be metal ores in the nest to the astral eclipse beast?" Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly and said, "I don't know anything about astral beasts. How would I know their habits? Since there is nothing, why did we come to the nest of the astral eclipse beast?" Wu Yong said, "I only said that there are no metal ores. I didn't say that there are no other treasures." Lei Xingfeng said, "What treasures?" Wu Yong said indifferently, "Excrement of the astral eclipse beast." Lei Xingfeng did not understand. He said, "What history?" Wu Yong said, "Excrement of the astral eclipse beast." Lei Xingfeng was completely dumbfounded. He said, excrement. What the F asterisk CK this is too. Excrement? Wu Yong could not help but roll his eyes. His expression was extremely charming. Lei Xingfeng immediately took a step back and thought, Ancestor is good at everything. Why did he make his appearance so seductive? Damn it. He quickly turned his head. Wu Yong said, "Excrement is different from human excrement. The excrement of the astral eclipse beast is definitely a treasure. It is made of an extremely precious alloy and has a special name. It is called the astral eclipse gold core. It is best to add supplementary materials to resist any kind of corrosion." Lei Xingfeng was really shocked. He knew that the astral eclipse gold core was a precious material and was extremely rare. However, this was the first time he knew that the astral eclipse gold core was actually excrement of the astral eclipse beast. This was too amazing. Chapter 310. Wu Yong said, "Don't underestimate the star-eroding gold core. For example, your junior martial uncle is of the metal attribute. He doesn't need a lot. Just a few star-eroding gold cores and his strength will definitely increase by 10 to 20%. In addition, you can also use star-eroding gold cores to upgrade your lightning strike and chaos wheel. Do you know how much a star-eroding gold core costs?" When Lei Xingfeng heard that the chaos wheel and Lei Yin could be improved, he immediately became spirited. He might not know about other things, but when it came to increasing his power, he paid close attention. He asked, "How many yin rings can be exchanged?" Wu Yong said, "One star-eroding gold core can be exchanged for 2,000 to 3,000 yin rings. The problem is this thing is priceless. No one will trade it for yin rings." This time, he brought Lei Xingfeng here to pick up the star-eroding beast's abandoned item, the star-eroding gold core. This was Wu Yang's compensation to Lei Xingfeng. He had taken advantage of Lei Xingfeng too much, so he had to give Lei Xingfeng something in return. Otherwise, he would feel uneasy. Lei Xingfeng said, "Then why didn't the people who killed the star-eroding beast come back to find the nest?" Wu Yong chuckled. "They did, but they couldn't find it. Haha, back then, a few groups of people worked together to kill the star-eroding beast, but the location wasn't here. Other than a lack of time, they also didn't understand the star-eroding beast's habits, so I got lucky." Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, "What habits?" Wu Yong said, "It needs a lot of water. The star-eroding beast's black mist needs a lot of water, so the star-eroding beast has a special place to store water. Within a few thousand kilometers, this is the best place to get water without exposing our tracks. Lei Xingfeng was secretly impressed. Wu Yang had used his deductions to find this place, and his deductions were correct. He found the star-eroding beast's true nest. He said, "Our luck is not bad. Haha, congratulations, patriarch." Due to the large waterfall, the cave entrance could not be seen from the outside. After a few hundred meters, an extremely wide cave appeared. Lei Xingfeng released Lei Yin, which immediately lit up the entire cave. The ground was very clean, and there were only a few small stones. The cave was very wide and high, and it was very dry inside. There were gusts of wind blowing through, which meant that there was ventilation. The cave was in the shape of an upside-down bowl. Lei Xingfeng had already seen another cave entrance. He said, "Over there." He saw a chaotic light inside, which meant that there were valuable materials. There was a smaller cave next to the big cave. That was probably the toilet of the star-eroding beast. Lei Xingfeng and Wu Yang stood at the entrance. Under the illumination of Lei Xingfeng's Lei Yin, the interior was brightly lit. There was no stench at all. Instead, there was a faint metallic smell. Lei Xingfeng said, "This is the feces of the eclipsed star beast? It doesn't look like feces at all. They're all metallic balls. No wonder they are called star-eroding gold cores." They were all round metallic balls. Lei Xingfeng picked one up. It was the size of a soccer ball in his previous life. It was very heavy and black in color. Under the illumination of Lei Yin's silver light, it emitted specks of gold and silver light. There were even specks of rainbow light. Upon closer inspection, there was actually a sense of mystery. Lei Xingfeng sighed and said, "This star-eroding beast's feces is like a work of art. It is really F*King beautiful feces." Wu Yang immediately laughed and said, "Haha, you are too vulgar." Lei Xingfeng carefully observed the piles of star-eroding gold cores. After a while, he said, "Founder, the star-eroding gold cores here are a little different." Wu Yang was stunned and said, "What do you mean?" Lei Xingfeng said, "There are good and bad star-eroding gold cores." He discovered that the light emitted by the star-eroding gold cores were different. Some were a little purer, some were a little more chaotic. Wu Yang said in shock, "That's right. Even feces are different. It depends on what the star-eroding beast eats. If it eats precious ores, the quality of the feces will be very high. If it eats ordinary ores, the quality of the feces will be poor." Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, "As expected, hee. Founder, I will start collecting." As he said that, he stared at the purer light. Wu Yang didn't have this ability. He collected the star-eroding gold cores and didn't pick them like Lei Xingfeng. The pits and valleys were filled with star-eroding gold cores. The big ones were the size of soccer balls, and the small ones were the size of tennis balls. Lei Xingfeng's speed was extremely fast. He touched them, and the star-eroding gold cores disappeared. The two of them didn't say anything and quickly collected them. This was also the reason why cultivators could collect so many star-eroding gold cores. With the hidden Luin space, no matter how many star-eroding gold cores there were, they could be taken away. Wu Yang said, "We've hit the jackpot this time. This is at least the star-eroding beast's feces for a few hundred years." It said that the star-eroding beast only poops once every few decades. With so many star-eroding gold cores, who knows how long it has lived here? Lei Xingfeng said, "Founder, there are too many star-eroding gold cores here. When we go back later, let's give some to Master and Junior Martial Uncle." As for Junior Martial Uncle Lotzi, he didn't mention him. After all, they weren't from the same sect. There was no need to be so generous. Wu Yang smiled and said, "Are you willing?" Lei Xingfeng said, "What's there to be unwilling about? With so many star-eroding gold cores, we can't take them all." Wu Yang said, "Even if we can't use them, we can exchange them for yin rings. We can exchange them for a lot of yin rings." Lei Xingfeng said, "Founder, with so many star-eroding gold cores, it's enough to exchange." Wu Yang smiled and said, "All right, we'll do as you say." He was quite happy. The reason he stayed with Gucci's faction was because the atmosphere in the sect was very good. The disciples were willing to help each other. He hated people who schemed against each other, so he had a good impression of Lei Xingfeng. Originally, he wanted to leave some for Gucci and Lei Xingfeng. Now that Lei Xingfeng brought it up, it was just what he wanted. The entire cave was filled with star-eroding gold cores. This pit was probably dug by the star-eroding beast itself. It was about 20 meters deep. The two of them worked for half a day before they finally cleaned it up. In the end, Lei Xingfeng stopped picking and chose to collect them in large quantities. He collected hundreds to thousands of star-eroding gold cores in one go. The quality of the star-eroding gold cores at the bottom was very poor, while the ones at the top are the best. It could be seen that before the star-eroding beast arrived, it didn't eat as much as it wanted. Only after it arrived did it start to eat good metal veins. Wu Yang sighed. This star-eroding beast was just about to eat when it was killed. So what if it's a top fighter here? Lei Xingfeng said, is the star-eroding beast very powerful? Wu Yang said, of course it is. Its entire body is harder than steel, and there are countless metal spikes on its body. It can also spit out a corrosive black mist that can cover thousands of meters. Even if I were to fight it one-on-one, I would have to avoid it. Unless I had a group of experts, I would have no hope of killing it. Lei Xingfeng sucked in a breath of cold air. In other words, a star-eroding beast could fight against a heaven monarch. This strength was indeed frightening. In other words, if he encountered a star-eroding beast, he would have to run as far away as possible. This thing was definitely not something he could fight against. Wu Yang said, you don't have to worry. Star-eroding beasts are not that easy to find. Unless you were extremely unlucky, it would be difficult even if you wanted to see one. The truly powerful star-eroding beasts already have a certain level of intelligence. Unless they feel threatened, they would normally not kill cultivators. Lei Xingfeng said, they have intelligence? Wu Yang said, we didn't hear wrong. Some top star-eroding beasts have lived for too long. Their intelligence is not inferior to humans. Lei Xingfeng was amazed. He said, since star-eroding beasts have intelligence, then do the even more powerful raging beasts have intelligence too? Wu Yang said, no. Raging beasts don't have intelligence. Even if they do, it is based on instinct. They are completely different from star-eroding beasts. Raging beasts are beasts of slaughter and are very crazy. However, raging beasts are even rarer than star-eroding beasts. Even I have not seen one with my own eyes. Lei Xingfeng said, anyway, I don't know when I'll be back after going out this time. No matter how powerful the raging beasts are, it has nothing to do with me. Wu Yang smiled and said, that's not necessarily true. He was now very sure that Lei Xingfeng had an unknown skill that could find all kinds of resources. Of course, as the ancestral master, he would not enslave his little grand disciple. However, it would not be a problem for him to borrow Lei Xingfeng's ability. Lei Xingfeng said, all right, I don't mind. As long as the ancestral master wants to bring me, I will come. He also understood that the ancestral master must have some ideas. However, he believed that the ancestral master would not harm him. Wu Yang nodded and said, all right, let's go back. I don't know if they found anything. A phone, there are countless resources here. You're lucky. Try your best to find them. If you find them, even if you don't dig them out, you can leave a mark. Then, you'll have a target in the future. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, all right, let's see how lucky I am. Wu Yang deliberately said this. Although he did not know what methods Lei Xingfeng had, he knew that Lei Xingfeng could find mineral veins. He did not want to reveal, nor did he need to reveal Lei Xingfeng's secret. He was the ancestral master. If he wanted Lei Xingfeng's help, he did not need any other methods. Wu Yang and Lei Xingfeng left the waterfall. When they reached the road, Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, I wonder how Master and the others are doing? Wu Yang shook his head and said, we were in the cave just now. Even if they had any signal, we would not be able to receive it. Let's find them as soon as possible. Lei Xingfeng said, all right, let's go. Lei Xingfeng walked. This time, he did not move quickly, so he had time to check out his surroundings. From time to time, he would pick some precious plants. At the same time, he would also find some small mineral veins. Wu Yang wasn't interested in these small mineral veins unless they were materials he needed. However, he still recorded these small mineral veins in the star python record so that he could excavate them in the future. With the sky amplification crystal, he would be able to enter and exit the extraterritorial cosmos at will even if he hadn't reached the Tao Lord level. This was just a small point in the extraterritorial cosmos. With the sky amplification crystal, he could open up many entry points. Therefore, his biggest gain from this trip to the outer realm was not materials, but the sky spill crystal. This thing was much more powerful than Yin rings. The energy contained in a single sky spill crystal was enough to enter and exit the outer realm 1,000 times. If he used it to enter the outer realm, the cost would be negligible. In other words, he would not need to use Yin rings to enter the outer realm in the future. This would save him a lot of Yin rings. If he used these Yin rings to cultivate subordinates, he would be able to obtain many Taoist rank experts. This would form a virtuous cycle. Chapter 3:11. Wu Yang was extremely satisfied with this adventure. Although he had spent a huge amount of Yin rings, he had earned it all back with a cracked sky divination crystal, not to mention a perfect sky divination crystal. This operation also allowed Wu Yang to gather the materials he needed the most. He had basically gathered all the materials he needed to advance. There were a few more that he only needed to trade for. He didn't need to dig for them himself. The difficulty of advancing from a heavenly lord to a Tao lord didn't lie in the person advancing, but in the materials needed. A heavenly lord would need an ocean's worth of materials to advance to a Tao lord, and they would also need to go through various processes. Therefore, if a heavenly lord wanted to advance, he would be very busy and wouldn't care about many things. In this world, aside from needing talent at the beginning, once a cultivator reached monarch, they would need to rely on all sorts of resources. Without resources, it was basically impossible to advance. This was why Wu Yang brought Feng Qinzong to the outer realms as soon as he reached monarch. He also needed to gather materials for his own advancement. Wu Yang said, Feng, don't trade the sky divination crystal you collected this time. Lei Xingfeng nodded. Yes, I don't plan on trading. But, founder, why do you say that? Wu Yang said, the sky divination crystal is much more useful than the Yin ring. When you advance in the future, you can use it. Did you know? When I advance, the sky divination crystal will be of great use. Combined with the Yin ring, my advancement will be much smoother. Feng, you're really lucky this time. Lei Xingfeng was shocked. I can use the sky divination crystal to advance. Wu Yang smiled. When you advance to monarch, you'll still use the Yin ring. Because your level is too low, it's gentler to use the Yin ring. However, the sky divination crystal can be used as support. You'll be able to use the sky divination crystal from this forbidden land until you become a Tao Lord. Also, the sky divination crystal will be of great use to you when you first construct the hidden door. Lei Xingfeng immediately became excited and said, it's not inferior to Tao Lord Ancestor. Damn, this is too good. A Tao Lord secret door was a dimensional door that required an enormous amount of energy to support it. Yin rings were far from enough, and each time they opened it, they would have to use up an enormous amount of Yin rings. Even Tao Lord patriarchs wouldn't be able to handle this. Lei Xingfeng didn't know much about this, but he knew that the sky divination crystal was extremely precious. Even Tao Lords wanted to obtain it, so he couldn't help but feel worried. Wu Yang smiled and said, don't worry. Whether it's your master, the junior martial uncle, or La Zi's junior martial uncle, they all understand this principle. You gave La Zi a sky divination crystal. This is very good, so he won't go out and talk nonsense out of jealousy. Everyone will be very cautious. He had already noticed Lei Xingfeng's little trick and was very impressed. Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, yes, Ancestral Master, there don't seem to be many cultivators here. I haven't seen a single one so far. Wu Yang said, that's normal. Think about it. Only Tao Lords can send people here. And how many are there? Most importantly, each time a dimensional door is opened, it requires too many Yin rings. It's so many that even Tao Lords have a headache. Of course, there are many people here. Most choose to go to the outer world. Although the resources there aren't as good as the outer space, it's also less expensive. Lei Xingfeng said, so it's normal that we haven't met anyone, but it's abnormal that we've met cultivators. Wu Yang smiled and said, that's right, it's exactly like that. Moreover, meeting other cultivators here isn't any less dangerous than encountering astral beasts. Lei Xingfeng said, will they kill each other? Wu Yang said, that depends on whether there are enough benefits. For example, if what you have is enough to tempt a monarch or a heavenly monarch, then you'll be in danger. Lei Xingfeng smiled. I won't give them a chance. Plus, with Ancestral Master here, I'm not afraid. He used Wu Yang as a shield and said, plus, I couldn't have come here alone. The only reason I'm here is because of Senior. Haha, I'm just here for fun. Wu Yang couldn't help but laugh and scold. You little brat, you sure know how to scheme. The two chatted and laughed as they arrived at the departure point. However, whether it was Gucci, Feng Chinzong, or La Zi, there was no news at all. They were probably still searching everywhere. Lei Xingfeng found a stream and washed his face. He set up a pot to boil water and said, Ancestral Master, have something to eat. Wu Yang nodded and sat down. Okay, it's good to rest. He was completely relaxed. After all, he had already completed his mission and didn't need to continue searching for materials. Soon, a pot of meat was cooked. Lei Xingfeng took out a few flatbread and handed it to Wu Yang. He smiled. Eat some hot food. It feels good. Wu Yang took out a small knife and cut out a piece of meat. It doesn't matter. As long as there's something to eat, it's fine. Outside, there's not so much to pay attention to. He was someone who liked good food at home, but outside, he didn't care. He dared to eat anything. This was a habit formed after a long time outside. The two ate and drank, chatting as they ate. Lei Xingfeng took this opportunity to ask a lot of questions about cultivation. After all, Ancestral Master was a heavenly monarch. Even if his element was different, he knew much more than Lei Xingfeng. Wu Yang said, after a while, I'll take you to a trade fair. Most of the trades are between true monarchs and heavenly monarchs. The materials you need to advance can also be exchanged there. Don't take out anything else. Use the star eroding gold core to exchange. Many people need it. Lei Xingfeng nodded. Also, I can take out the Fishman wine to trade. Ha! Wu Yang said, you have to use the best quality Fishman wine. No one will trade ordinary Fishman wine with you. Lei Xingfeng said, I know. You could get a lot of ordinary Fishman wine in the Blackwater regions. However, the best quality Fishman wine can only be found in the wine cellars of the large tribes. Haha, it's too difficult to find the wine cellars of the large tribes. It's almost impossible. Wu Yang smiled. Why is it impossible? Didn't you find it? Lei Xingfeng giggled. That's just my luck. It doesn't count. Wu Yang couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. Luck? He knew in his heart that there was no such thing as luck. If one didn't have a special method, they wouldn't be able to reap good rewards every time they went out. Of course, he wouldn't say it out loud. All right, you're lucky. He wouldn't force this precious egg. What a joke. He could still use this opportunity to find more things. If he forced him, this child might play dead. That would be troublesome. As an old man who had lived for many years, Wu Yang might look like a monster, but he was actually very smart. He knew what he could do and what he couldn't do. Lei Xingfeng asked, what kind of trade fair is it? Where's it held? Wu Yang said, it's held in the outer realms. It's a very safe place. That place is already abandoned. No true masters will go there. Lei Xingfeng smiled. Then I'll have to go. Haha, I have many things to trade. Some of them can be exchanged for rings. Wu Yang said, this time your senior brother and senior sister will be going. This kind of trade fair is rare, so it's a rare opportunity. When you go back, give me the list of materials you want to trade. Also, give me the list of materials you want to get. I'll let La Zi handle it. Lei Xingfeng knew that the founder was going to go through the back door. La Zi was a true monarch and had an extremely high position in the sect. He came to help because he had priority in trading. That way, he could get what he needed. Just because you had high-level materials, you wouldn't necessarily be able to trade for what you needed. There were still many secrets involved. Lei Xingfeng smiled. All right, Then I'll have to trouble the founder. After eating and cleaning, Lei Xingfeng sat down and waited for the others to return. Wu Yang also sat down to cultivate. Lei Xingfeng had nothing to do, so he took out some jerky to feed the blackbird. Bird Buddha ate while nagging. This jerky doesn't taste good. Can you roast it? It's too hard. It's uncomfortable to swallow. Give me some golden eagle meat. Lei Xingfeng said, eat it if you don't want it. If you don't want it, then forget it. Bird Buddha said, how can there be a master like you? At first, you gave me some good food, but now it's all jerky. Jerky, I want to vomit. GA, give me some fishman wine. Right? It has to be the highest quality fishman wine. Ordinary wine is tasteless. Lei Xingfeng said, no. If you drink it, you'll go crazy. Don't drink it. Bird Buddha huffed angrily. Stingy. The man and bird bickered nonstop. Wu Yang found it funny. He said, a phone, it's so troublesome to bring this bird around. Why don't you leave it at home? Lei Xingfeng said, I'm used to it, and it doesn't cause trouble, so it's fine to bring it around. This blackbird did a great job. During crucial moments, it would never affect Xian Feng. So Xian Feng had always brought it with him until he got used to it. If he didn't have a bird on his shoulder, he would feel that something was wrong. Bird Buddha insisted on following Lei Xingfeng and never harassing him at critical times. This bird had its own ideas. The baptism of 3 thunderbolts a day made its cultivation level rise rapidly. 1 day was equivalent to 10 days in the past. Of course, it was reluctant to leave. And following Lei Xingfeng, it didn't have to worry about food, cultivation, or safety. What was there to be dissatisfied with? With Bird Buddha's intelligence, of course it would shamelessly follow. After following Lei Xingfeng for a long time, Bird Buddha also understood that Lei Xingfeng had never used it. Besides scolding it often, Lei Xingfeng treated it very well. If it didn't follow this kind of master, was it supposed to wander around? Bird Buddha wasn't that stupid. Wu Yang smiled and said, yes, after a long time, you'll develop feelings. Blackbird flew to the ground and said, I'm done eating, let's exercise. Lei Xingfeng struck Blackbird with a thunderbolt. Suddenly, Blackbird's body was surrounded by electric arcs. After a while, Blackbird said, again. Wu Yang heard Blackbird's voice trembling. He knew that it was still very afraid. After 3 consecutive thunderbolts, Blackbird's body trembled for more than 10 minutes. Then it flew crookedly to Lei Xingfeng's shoulder and tried to digest the thunderbolts it got. Blackbird's body was constantly jumping with electric arcs. It hit its small head and its wings, motionless like a sculpture. Wu Yang said, it's really rare. Thunder attribute beasts are very rare. But among the star beasts, there are thunder attribute beasts. Thunder star beasts are super strong, but unfortunately, it's very rare to see them. Chapter 312. Lei Xingfeng said, Thunderous Star Beast, I don't know who killed it. I have a few materials that were taken from the Thunderous Star Beast. Wu Yang said, that's difficult. Let's ask around in the future. To be able to kill a Thunderous Star Beast, one must be extremely powerful. Lei Xingfeng, Thunderous Star Beast. There's only one word missing. Lei Xingfeng hurriedly said, it has nothing to do with me. Ancestor, you don't have to show off. Wu Yang suddenly laughed and said, if I didn't know better, I would have thought that you were brothers, haha. Lei Xingfeng looked helplessly at the old ancestor and said, it's just a coincidence. You don't have to be so happy. Wu Yang laughed. Yes, ha. Lei Xingfeng couldn't continue and changed the topic. I wonder where Master and the others went. Wu Yang said, they will come back when it's time. Don't worry. Lei Xingfeng stood up and said, Ancestor, shall we go take a look? Wu Yang said, can't sit still. Lei Xingfeng said, it's not easy to get here. It's better to hurry up and find more things. It's more cost-effective. Wu Yang said, you're really a money grubber. Okay, let's go take a look. He also stood up and said, Lei Xingfeng said, is there any place worth going? Ancestor, you're more familiar with this place. I'm still too unfamiliar with it. The two walked along the stream. Wu Yang laughed. This is the periphery of the Forbidden Land. There are all kinds of mineral veins. It depends on whether you have the ability to find them. Haha, I can't imagine how many experts there were in the Forbidden Land. That era should be much more powerful than we are now. Maybe we're the descendants of the Forbidden Land, just people who lost their inheritance. Lei Xingfeng asked, I don't know what happened to the people of that era. They actually disappeared just like that, leaving behind so many forbidden lands. I can imagine how prosperous that era was. The two of them walked as fast as they were taking a stroll. Xian Feng spoke as he observed the surroundings. Beside the stream was a patch of mixed woods. Occasionally, there would be a few broken ancient trees. He believed that there had been a battle here. In the past, this place should have been a primeval forest, but most of it had been destroyed. The mixed woods grew later, no more than a few decades ago. The stream beside him was also new. Just by looking at the stones in the stream, he knew that the cobblestones had not been washed out yet. The stones were all angular. Faint sounds of thunder could be heard. Wu Yang immediately tilted his head to listen. Lei Xingfeng also stopped in his tracks. He also heard the faint sounds of thunder. Lei Xingfeng said, "The sound of battle? Or is it thunder?" Then there was another roar. This time, Lei Xingfeng understood. He said, "It sounds like the sound of a battle." He was excited at first, thinking that it would rain and thunder. Wu Yang said, "Come, follow me." Fly low. He suddenly rushed forward and flew up in an instant. Lei Xingfeng also flew out. The two of them flew forward about a few meters above the ground. At this altitude, they could not fly freely. They had to control their speed. It was much more difficult than flying at high altitudes, but they had to fly. Flying was many times faster than running. The two of them, one in front and one behind, flew toward the sound of the explosion as fast as lightning. As they got closer, the sound of the explosion became louder. Lei Xingfeng flew to Wu Yang's side. He said loudly, "Could it be Master and the others?" Wu Yang said, "Not necessarily. When we get closer, fly slower. I will go and take a look first." Lei Xingfeng nodded vigorously. Okay. He knew that he was a burden, so he tried not to make Wu Yang worry. That was his only mission. As for the battle, forget it. There was no room for him to show off. A ninth ring sage was really nothing here. When Lei Xingfeng saw a large cloud of smoke rising behind a low mountain, Wu Yang said, "Go to that mountain. Be careful and wait for me to come back." Lei Xingfeng agreed. Wu Yang's figure flashed and disappeared. Lei Xingfeng was still flying at a low altitude toward the low mountain. At this time, he had to slow down because there was a large primeval forest around him. The trees were dozens or even hundreds of meters tall. He could only fly through the forest. He did not dare to go up to the treetops at all. That would make him a target for some powerful beasts. In just a few minutes, Lei Xingfeng had arrived at the foot of the mountain. He did not dare to fly anymore. Instead, he landed on the ground and started climbing up the mountain. Sprinting and jumping, Lei Xingfeng climbed up the mountain at a speed that was unimaginable in his previous life. This low mountain was only about 700 meters tall. In his previous life, it would be considered a small peak. But here, it was indeed a small peak. After a few minutes, Lei Xingfeng climbed to the top of the mountain and carefully snuck in the direction of the rising smoke. Lying behind a huge rock, Lei Xingfeng finally saw the battlefield. The three outsiders were facing a monster that was 7 to 8 meters long. Lei Xingfeng could not tell what kind of beast it was. In fact, it was a star beast. It was a young star beast. This star beast looked like a tortoise. Unlike a tortoise, it had a shell on its body, but it was relatively small. Its head, neck, limbs, and tail were very similar to a large lizard. However, it carried a spindle-shaped shell on its back, which made it look very strange. Lei Xingfeng carefully recalled the star python records and finally determined that this was a star beast. Moreover, it was a Saturn star beast. What he did not know was that this was a young Saturn star beast. Looking at the three outsiders besieging it, he felt that the strength of this star beast was a little weak. The three outsiders surrounded and strangled the young Saturn star beast. At this time, Lei Xingfeng discovered that although the Saturn star beast attack was ordinary, its defense was very strong. Its whole body was shining with a yellow light, and various patterns were faintly visible on its body. It was very strange. The young Saturn star beast's whole body was golden, and there were circles of patterns on its body. It was very beautiful. Lei Xingfeng's sharp eyes could clearly see the brilliance on the Saturn star beast's body. Every time it was attacked, the brilliance would constantly fluctuate. The three 3-meter-tall outsiders were circling the Saturn star beast. From time to time, they would launch a thunderous attack. The explosive sound shook the ground and smoke rose. It could be seen that the three outsiders were very anxious. Their movements were too big. Who knew what kind of terrible things would be attracted to them? Lei Xingfeng did not dare to get close. Just based on his experience, he knew that these three outsiders were definitely not to be trifled with. He carefully observed the three outsiders. One was an old man, one was relatively young, and the last one should be a woman or a mother. Looking at the chest, he knew that it was impossible for a man to have such a big chest. Even if he was far away, Lei Xingfeng could feel that it was huge. The old man had a head of tangled white braids. Hundreds of braids bounced with his movements, setting off his head. It looked abnormally big. It was a big head. The three of them were the same. However, the two younger outsiders also had hundreds of braids that moved around like snakes. Lei Xingfeng had to admit that these three people's physiques were simply inhuman. They were too strong. Not only were they tall, but their bodies were not slender at all. They were fat like giant bears. They wore simple leather armor, but it could not hide their bulging muscles. They were barbaric and ferocious. The roars they let out were also inhuman, low, and full of cruelty. What made Lei Xingfeng feel strange was that the three of them did not use any weapons. They were all fighting barehanded. When they punched, Lei Xingfeng could see the fluctuations in the air. He did not know how strong the force was. Every time they attacked, they would let out an extremely strange low roar, which made people panic. The young Saturn beast desperately used its claws to dig the ground. However, its position was wrong. It was all hard rocks below. Xi and Foam could clearly see that with a swipe of the Saturn star beast's claws, the rocks split open like mud. However, before the Saturn star beast could dig a second time, it would definitely be smashed apart by an outsider's punch. The three outsiders forced the Saturn star beast to run around in circles, its long tail wagging with all its might. Xi and Foam understood with a glance that this Saturn star beast didn't have much battle experience and was only relying on its instincts to fight. It was at a disadvantage. Boom! Occasionally, the young Saturn beast's tail hit an outsider's body. Suddenly, the outsider tumbled and crashed into a huge rock. With a loud bang, the rock actually shattered. The Saturn beast took this opportunity and fled outwards. The direction it fled towards was the mountain peak where Lei Xingfeng was. Lei Xingfeng felt a chill in his heart. He retreated a short distance and turned around to run. What a joke. He was not a match for the three outsiders, let alone the young Saturn beast. At this moment, if he was still watching foolishly, his brain must be damaged. Like a frightened rabbit, Lei Xingfeng fled to the foot of the mountain. Going down the mountain was very easy for him. It was almost as easy as jumping down. This was the advantage of being able to fly. He could control his body and would not crash into the rocks. When he reached the forest at the foot of the mountain, the Saturn beast had already fled to the mountain peak. The three outsiders surrounded it again and continued to attack. Lei Xingfeng did not dare to stay at the foot of the mountain. Instead, he dived outwards. Wu Yang's position was also at the side. Therefore, he could see the other side of the mountain peak. When the Saturn beast fled towards the mountain peak, he was still nervous. However, he immediately saw Lei Xingfeng's figure fleeing rapidly from the mountain peak to the foot of the mountain. Even Wu Yang was amazed by his speed. When he saw Lei Xingfeng escaping, he also relaxed. At least he did not have to rescue him. Lei Xingfeng ran down in a breath without looking back. When he heard the roar of the battle from the mountain peak, he turned around to look. He had already covered a distance of more than 1,000 meters. There was no danger for the time being. Damn it, that's scary, Lei Xingfeng muttered to himself. Boom! The peak of the mountain just now was gone. When the smoke and dust dissipated, The peak of the mountain had been erased. The battle was still very intense. Lei Xingfeng realized that the Saturn beast was becoming more and more agile. Its attack power was also gradually increasing. He could not help but praise. What a strong learning ability. The Saturn beast learned during the battle. Its body was not as clumsy as it was at the beginning. It began to learn how to dodge and attack. Chapter 3:13. Lei Xingfeng saw the three outsiders flying in the air unscrupulously and taking turns to attack. He knew that the three of them were really anxious. Lei Xingfeng was a kilometer away from the mountain peak. Whether it was the Saturn beast or the three outsiders, it would only take a few seconds for them to arrive. It was very difficult to avoid them, so he continued to retreat. Of course, his speed became very slow. He didn't need to leave at a high speed for the time being. He still wanted to watch the battle between the two. Wu Yang suddenly appeared beside Lei Xingfeng and said, "Let's go. These three bastards don't know anything. Let's get away from them." Although Lei Xingfeng didn't understand why, he still followed Wu Yang and escaped. While escaping, he asked, "Ancestor, we are already some distance away from them. Why are we still running?" Wu Yang said, "Idiot, this is the surroundings of the Forbidden Land. It's fine if the movement is small. Just like when they were fighting at the bottom of the mountain. No matter how loud the sound was or how big the vibration was, it would only attract the attention of others. It wouldn't affect the Forbidden Land." However, those three idiots fell into a trap. They followed the Saturn beast to the top of the mountain and flew into the air unscrupulously. If they aren't unlucky, who will be unlucky? We can't be implicated. Lei Xingfeng was puzzled and said, "Fell into a trap? The Saturn beast still has a trap?" Wu Yang said, "Did you see the Saturn beast fly? Even a young Saturn beast can fly. You see, it didn't leave the ground at all. Even when it was escaping, it didn't leave the ground." Lei Xingfeng obviously saw it. He said, "This is the Saturn beast trap?" Wu Yang said, "It's about time. Let's go up the tree." They couldn't see the battle at the top of the mountain in the distance from the forest, so they had to climb up the tree. Climbing a tree was simply too easy for Lei Xingfeng. Before he started cultivating, he often climbed trees to pick wild fruits. The two quickly climbed up an ancient tree and stopped near the top of the tree. They both stared at the top of the mountain. Lei Xingfeng said, "What a guy, how ruthless." Because the Saturn beast refused to fly into the sky and insisted on fighting on the ground, it fell into an extremely passive situation. Although its defense was extremely high, it was gradually defeated under the frenzied attacks of the three people. Blood splattered all over its body. That was a sign that its defense was broken and it was injured. Wu Yang suddenly pointed to the side and said, "Look." A beam of light flashed across the distant sky like a lightning bolt. After a few flashes, Lei Xingfeng saw a few beams of light shooting straight towards the mountain peak. In a split second, two of the three people fell down while the last one was swaying in the air. That person was the elder with the highest strength. The Saturn beast suddenly exerted its strength and bit one of the guys who fell. The Saturn beast's head shook violently, and instantly, that person was torn apart. Following which, the Saturn beast took a step forward and stomped its claws on the ground. There was an outsider lying there. With just one claw, the outsider was torn into pieces. It was extremely brutal. That elder had already landed on the ground and let out a deafening roar. Wu Yang said, "Actually, when those two people fell, they were already dead. The last one was also seriously injured. This guy's going all out." With a loud bang, no one knew what the white-haired outsider used to blow up the entire mountain peak. No matter how strong the Saturn beast's defense was, it couldn't withstand such an explosion. In an instant, it perished together with the outsider. Lei Xingfeng said anxiously, "This is a good chance." He could jump down from the tree without hesitation and ran towards the place where the explosion occurred. Wu Yang was stunned for a moment before he laughed and scolded, "This smart little bastard. His method of fishing in troubled waters is amazing." He ran after him. Even if it was a young Saturn beast, every part of its body was a treasure. The most precious part of Saturn Beast was the star core in its brain, followed by the blood essence in its heart, followed by its skin, flesh, and bones. Of course, no matter which part it was, they were all very valuable. Lei Xingfeng's eyesight was extremely crafty. At the moment of the explosion, he stared at the Saturn Beast and looked at the place where it was thrown. Then he rushed out. Wu Yang followed closely behind. He didn't use any special ability and just followed closely. In just a few seconds, Lei Xingfeng had already found the dead Saturn Beast. Just as he arrived, he saw a figure pouncing towards him. Almost without thinking, he struck a bolt of lightning. That person's speed was extremely fast. He didn't even have time to react and was struck by the lightning. In an instant, he was turned into a huge ball of light with crackling sounds. Using this opportunity, Lei Xingfeng's hand touched the Saturn Beast's corpse. This was the upper half of its body, including its head and chest. It was about 4 meters long. With Lei Xingfeng's method, he could directly store it into his hidden Luin space. That person saw that Lei Xingfeng's hand had already touched the Saturn Beast and couldn't help but shout angrily. Then, he broke free from the restraint of the lightning and pounced forward. In an instant, half of the Saturn Beast on the ground disappeared. That person was even more furious as he shouted, "Go and die!" A huge pressure came crashing down with a shout. Lei Xingfeng suddenly had difficulty breathing. His heart was beating wildly. At that moment, he felt the threat of death. Get lost! Wu Yang's figure flashed slightly, and he was already standing in front of Lei Xingfeng. He raised his hand and struck out. Boom! That person was sent flying with one slap. Lei Xingfeng didn't delay at all and rushed to the other side. There was still half of the Saturn Beast's corpse. He wouldn't give his opponent any chance. He would take it first and then talk later. After all, he had the support of his ancestor. He wasn't afraid of that person. That person let out an angry roar. His figure flashed, and he was already in the forest. Wu Yang's attack just now had already injured him. He knew that the person opposite him was much stronger than him. Of course, he didn't dare to stay. No matter how angry he was, he had to escape first. Lei Xingfeng said, "This guy was just a bit slower than me." "Who is he?" Wu Yang said, "I don't know. This guy should be a monarch rank. He's stronger than Feng Qinzong, but weaker than Gucci. He wanted to take advantage of him, but ended up losing." Lei Xingfeng said, "This place is really dangerous. If we're not careful, we'll be finished." He knew in his heart that if it wasn't for Wu Yang, he would have turned and run the moment he saw that person. Even if he ran, it would have been difficult. The difference between the two was too big. If that person wanted to kill him, he wouldn't be able to escape. Wu Yang said, "So, although there are few people here, anyone who comes out must be a great expert." Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly, "Except for me." Wu Yang suddenly laughed. He said, "Of course, very few people would bring a 9th ring sage to the outer space. You're an exception." Lei Xingfeng said, "This place isn't suitable for dealing with the Saturn Beast. It's better if we leave." Wu Yang said, Let's go. Let's go another way." A black figure staggered and ran. After a moment, he came to a cliff. Behind a huge blue stone, he went into a cave. Soon, he couldn't hold it in anymore and spat out a mouthful of blood. His teeth were dyed red. He said in a low voice, "It's a monarch, and a top monarch at that. Damn it, I've lost." He slowly walked into the depths of the cave. It was a huge cave with a fire pit in the middle. It glowed with a faint red light. It was a charcoal fire that hadn't been extinguished yet. The man sat down by the fire pit and poured another mouthful of blood into his mouth. He gritted his teeth and swallowed it. With a flip of his wrist, a light green medicine appeared. This was a primary healing potion. It couldn't be compared to soul-stabilizing potions, but it could temporarily suppress the injury and prevent it from worsening. Then, slowly recuperating, the person would be able to recover. The man drank the potion in one gulp. A moment later, his originally pale face turned slightly red. He let out a long sigh and said, "Who is that?" He really couldn't understand. There was a 9th ring sage competing with him for the Saturn Beast, and he even succeeded. At that time, the other party's lightning strike actually delayed him for 2 seconds. This was simply unbelievable. Since when could a Taoist master be a threat to him? He didn't see Lei Xingfeng and Wu Yang's faces clearly. The only one he had a little impression of was Wu Yang. That was because Wu Yang had an extremely beautiful face. Until now, he couldn't tell whether Wu Yang was a man or a woman. I'll find you. Even if I can't beat that monarch Humph, I'll never let that ninth ring sage go. The Black Shadow swore secretly. Xian Feng and Wu Yang also came to a stone cave. There were a lot of stone caves here. They could easily find a dozen of them. The reason why they wanted to find a stone cave was because Xian Feng needed to deal with the Saturn Star Beast. In the wild, he didn't dare to deal with the Saturn Star Beast. One must know that once the blood flowed out, that smell would attract something powerful. Therefore, it was necessary to choose a cave. Lei Xingfeng took out half of the Saturn Beast body. This was the upper half of the body, including the head and chest. Wu Yang sighed. This Saturn Beast is still a little stupid. It should have run away when the two outsiders died. In the end, it lost its life in order to vent its anger. Lei Xingfeng said, "It's not human after all. It can't think so much." Wu Yang said, "That's not necessarily true. An adult Saturn Beast isn't that stupid. However, it's good that it's stupid. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to take advantage of it." Lei Xingfeng said, "Ancestor, will you handle it?" Wu Yang waved his hand and said, "You do it. I'll guide you." Lei Xingfeng knew that this was an opportunity Wu Yang gave him to practice. There were very few opportunities to cut up and clean up Saturn Beasts. It was also a good experience to be able to personally collect materials from a Saturn Beast. He said, "Okay, I'll listen to Ancestor." The first thing was to collect the Saturn core. Saturn Beasts had Saturn cores in their heads. Even young Saturn Beasts had Saturn cores. However, the Saturn cores in young Saturn Beasts' heads contained much less energy. After cutting open the Saturn Beast head, they quickly found the Saturn core. It was only the size of a walnut and a golden crystal. As soon as it was taken out, the black bird became excited. It screamed, "Wow, wow, GA, I want it." Lei Xingfeng asked curiously, "What are you going to do?" The black bird said excitedly, "I want it." "Wow, good stuff. I want it." Lei Xingfeng said, "I know it's good stuff. Why should I give it to you?" The black bird suddenly became anxious. It said, "Please, give it to me. I want to eat it. This thing must be delicious. GA, give it to me, please." Chapter 314. Wu Yang looked at it with a smile. He wanted to see how Lei Xingfeng would deal with it. Lei Xingfeng said, "This is an Earth attribute star core. You are a Thunder attribute star core. Aren't you afraid of choking to death if you eat it?" The black bird said, "It has nothing to do with attributes. Boss, give it to me. I'll call you uncle. Is that okay?" "Really, I want it." Lei Xingfeng's hair stood on end. He said, "Do you know that this thing is very precious and valuable? I may not be able to get it in the future. Why should I give it to you?" The black bird said, I'll sell my body to you. I'll sell it to you in exchange for this thing. Uncle, give it to me." In order to get the star core, it didn't care about anything else. It was as disgusting as it was shameless. Anyway, it just wanted to get the star core. Lei Xingfeng said, "Bird Butte, you have to know that this star core is not mine." The black bird quacked and immediately turned to Wu Yang. It stretched out its two wings and formed a hug. It said very sincerely, "Ancestor, ancestor, give it to the bird. This thing, the bird needs it." Wu Yang was amused by the bird butte. He had never seen such a bird. He said, "Don't beg me. This is your master's. I don't plan to take it." The black bird immediately turned around and said, "Quack, uncle. You see, the ancestor said that this is yours. Give it to the bird." Lei Xingfeng was really reluctant. It was also the first time he got a star core. Although it was the star core of a young Saturn Star Beast, he thought for a while and said, "Let me think about it for a while. If you perform well, I may give it to you." As he said that, he turned his wrist and the star core disappeared. The black bird's hair stood on end. Seeing the feathers stand up, Lei Xingfeng said, "What? Not convinced?" Wu Yang chuckled. The black bird immediately deflated its feathers returning to normal as it used its beak to comb Exine Feng's hair, muttering, How could I? How could I? Gaga, I'm convinced, of course I'm convinced you're the master, you're the lord. How can I not be convinced? Look, I'm combing your feathers. Wu Yang laughed and said, Your bird is so funny. Lei Xingfeng was speechless when he heard this. What did he mean by his bird was too fun? These words were really unpleasant to hear. He said, Grandmaster, you don't need to join in the fun. What should we do next? Wu Yang was still sneering. Looking at Lei Xingfeng's sour face, he was incomparably happy. In fact, Lei Xingfeng had already planned to give the star core to the blackbird, but he knew one thing very well in his heart. Something that was too easy to get would not be cherished. He did not want the blackbird to misunderstand that as long as it wanted something, it could get it. This kind of habit must not be allowed to develop. The blackbird did not care about the lightning that was still being digested. It kept flattering, and talking nonsense. It just hoped that Lei Xingfeng would be soft-hearted and give it the star core. Cutting open the chest and revealing the huge heart, Wu Yang said, Be careful with this. There are only a few drops of essence blood. You have to find a way to collect it, or it will be wasted. Use a lacquered ebony box to deal with it. Lei Xingfeng took out a lacquered ebony box. Wu Yang immediately said, No, this box is too small. Take a wooden basin first, a lacquered ebony wooden basin. Putting away the box, he took out a new wooden basin and said, Next. Wu Yang said, Take out the Saturn beast's heart and put it in the wooden basin. The Saturn beast's heart was huge. The wooden basin that Lei Xingfeng took out had a diameter of 5 meters, and the diameter of the heart was 80 centimeters. Wu Yang said, Okay, take out a few wooden boxes. Lei Xingfeng took out a few lacquered ebony boxes. Wu Yang said, I have to do this step myself. Hee, watch carefully. Wu Yang stretched out his hand and grabbed at the air. A mass of black blood was sucked out from the blood vessels. It spun in the air and then began to evaporate. This drop of essence blood was the size of a bowl. Under Wu Yang's illusory power, it formed a ball. White mist rose, and the drop of essence blood gradually shrank. When it shrank to the size of an apple, Wu Yang said, Open the wooden box. Lei Xingfeng opened the wooden box and put the drop of essence blood inside. During this process, Wu Yang's hand did not touch the essence blood. It was completely done in the air. After the apple-sized drop of essence blood was put in the wooden box, it naturally flattened. Wu Yang said, Okay, close the lid. This thing needs to be completely dried. It's just right to put it in the hidden Luin space. It usually takes half a year to a year for it to be completely dried. In the future, the longer it is stored, the better. Wu Yang took a total of 5 drops of essence blood. After processing, he took 2 drops and gave the rest to Lei Xingfeng. When Wu Yang was extracting the essence blood, the blackbird did not dare to say a word. It knew that if it disturbed the two, not to mention the star nucleus, it probably would not even get to eat meat. It had always been very smart about this. After processing the essence blood, Wu Yang smiled and said, This heart is good stuff. Especially if it is eaten by someone with the earth attribute, it will definitely be very nutritious. Lei Xingfeng said, I'm of the thunder attribute. Can eating it be nutritious? Wu Yang nodded and said, Yes, this thing can strengthen the body. Of course, if you eat it, it won't be as good as if it was eaten by someone with the earth attribute, but it definitely won't be useless. Lei Xingfeng immediately took out the ebony box and cut the heart into pieces. The ebony box was the best preservation material. He planned to go back and process the meat. He said, Then what will we do with it? Wu Yang said, The Saturn star beast is most famous for its skin. You peel it off first, then I'll find someone process it. You won't be able to handle it. Lei Xingfeng nodded and said, Okay. In fact, he was very familiar with skinning. After all, before he started cultivating, he was a hunter. Even if it was his first time dealing with a star beast, the principle was the same. Wu Yang was a little surprised. He said, Not bad, you're very skilled. Have you learned it before? Lei Xingfeng smiled and said, I used to be a hunter. Wu Yang smiled and said, No wonder. After skinning and cutting the meat, Lei Xingfeng put a few big wooden basins beside him and said, "How about these bones?" "Oh, right. Can the meat of the Saturn star beast be eaten?" Wu Yang said, "Of course, and it's very good for the body. The meat of the Saturn star beast has always been priceless. It's very expensive." Lei Xingfeng said, "Are these bones useful too?" Wu Yang nodded and said, "Of course, but it's a pity that these are the bones of an underage Saturn star beast. Earth attribute monarchs will fight for these bones, ha." Lei Xingfeng shook his head and said, "Even if a monarch wants it, he won't dare to take it out if he's not an acquaintance." Wu Yang understood very well. If Lei Xingfeng's strength had reached the level of a monarch, he would have no scruples taking it out to trade. Now, he was only a ninth ring sage, and his strength had not reached the level of a monarch. There were many things that he could not do. After everything was cleaned up, Lei Xingfeng said, "Finally, it's clean. Ha! The harvest this time is really rich." Wu Yang only took a little meat and 2 drops of essence blood. He did not take any of the other materials from the Saturn star beast and gave them all to Lei Xingfeng. After washing with some water and changing clothes, most of the blood smell was removed. Lei Xingfeng said, "Let's go out. Ha! Maybe Master and the others have already returned." Wu Yang agreed, and the two walked out of the cave. As soon as they came out, the black bird began to nag. "Uncle, are you done? This bird has been waiting patiently. I didn't disturb you. Caw, give me the bird. Uncle, give me the bird." Lei Xingfeng said, "Can I give you my bird?" Wu Yang burst into laughter and said, of course, ha, ha, ha." Lei Xingfeng looked helplessly at the old Wu Yang, and then said to the blackbird, "Don't call me bird in the future. It's unpleasant to hear, okay?" The blackbird said, "I'm a bird. Why can't I call you a bird? Birds are not people." Okay, I won't call you a bird. I won't call you a bird. Caw, uncle, give me a bird." It was very difficult to change a habit. Lei Xingfeng looked at the blackbird speechlessly. After a while, he said, "Shut up." After a caw, the blackbird became silent, staring at Exine Foam with a wronged expression. Luckily, it wasn't a human and didn't have a human's expression, but even so, the resentment it emitted was still overwhelming. Wu Yang couldn't stop laughing. This man and bird were really funny. He said, "A Foam, when a battle breaks out between star beasts, they will eat the other's star core and heart immediately after winning. This is their way to strengthen themselves. Haha, your bird probably has a similar instinct." The blackbird suddenly became excited and said, "Wow, Ka, yes, bird instinct. Uncle A Phone, you heard it. The ancestor said that it's a bird's instinct." Lei Xingfeng said, "Shut up. If you talk again, I'll block your bird's beak." The blackbird was about to cry. This master was too unreasonable, but didn't dare to resist. As it gained more and more benefits, the blackbird became more and more afraid of Lei Xingfeng. Like a deflated balloon, the blackbird hid its head in its wings. Since it couldn't get it anyway, it might as well sleep and continue to digest the thunder. Wu Yang smiled and said, "Your bird is angry." Lei Xingfeng said in his heart, "What do you mean by my bird? That's too unpleasant." He said, "Don't worry about it. It'll be fine in a while." Wu Yang said, Okay. The two of them chatted and laughed as they came to the gathering place. Lei Xingfeng sat down against a big tree and said, "I didn't expect to get such a good deal. Haha, it's really funny." Wu Yang also found a big tree and sat on a thick root. He said, "This is the danger of the outer space. Even if you're fighting, there might be an ambush on the side, and you might be attacked by the forbidden area. You saw the attack just now, right? Even I had to dodge, or I would be injured." Lei Xingfeng was stunned. He said, "That's impossible. If I'm prepared, I should be able to block it." Wu Yang shook his head and said, "I can block a few attacks, but once you block them, there will be endless attacks behind. I once saw a Lord of Heaven being beaten black and blue by this kind of attack. If he didn't escape quickly, he might have died in the forbidden area. The most dangerous thing here is not the star beasts or the wild beasts, but the forbidden area and the outsiders." Chapter 315. Lei Xingfeng said, "The outsider wasn't that strong. Didn't he kill 3 of them at once?" Wu Yang said, That outsider's last attack took the Saturn beast down with him. Didn't you see that? If you encounter such a situation, how confident are you in escaping? Lei Xingfeng smiled bitterly. This kind of move was the scariest. It was to die together. Even if you didn't want to die, you couldn't, unless you had a special ability to avoid this kind of suicidal move. He said, I don't have the confidence to escape. It's too fast. Wu Yang said, they're also cultivators. It's just that they don't belong to the same world as us. There's still a big difference. The two hadn't exchanged more than a few words when they saw a black shadow flash by. Wu Yang slowly stood up and said, Come here, Feng Qinzong. What are you doing sneaking around? Feng Qinzong rushed over and said, Master, not good. Seeing your brother fell into a trap in the forbidden area. Wu Yang's face turned cold. He said, What happened? Speak clearly. At this moment, he suddenly released his aura, causing Feng Qinzong to tremble in fear. Lei Xingfeng also jumped up and ran to the two. He said, Young martial uncle, what happened? Feng Qinzong smiled bitterly. Seeing your brother fell into the forbidden area. The two of them barely pushed me out and fell into a trap. Wu Yang said calmly, Couldn't you have used a secret door to escape? Feng Qinzong said, I did. I used senior brother's secret door. After he pushed me out, he was stopped by a powerful force in the forbidden area. So I was the only one who escaped. Perhaps Master's secret door can be used. Usually, people wouldn't use a secret door in the same world. One of the reasons was that it wasn't worth it. Also, a portable secret door was completely different from a fixed one. A portable secret door could only be used for short distances. The most important thing was the positioning problem. Especially in outer space, a portable secret door couldn't be used carelessly. There were too many dangerous places here. One wrong step, and you could die in this dangerous world. This was one of the reasons why cultivators who came here to search for treasures didn't often use portable secret doors. Wu Yang said, Do you know the specific location? Feng Qinzong nodded. Yes. When he sent me out, senior brother said that they should try to stay in their original position. Wu Yang nodded. Okay, let's try and see if we can save them. After getting the coordinates, Wu Yang directly opened the secret door that he carried with him. The secret door flashed a few times and disappeared. Wu Yang frowned. After a while, he said, Damn it, this is the seal of the forbidden area? What? Lei Xingfeng was also worried. If his master couldn't get out, they'd be in big trouble. He said, Founder, please think of something. Wu Yang tried again. The door appeared, but it only flashed a few times before disappearing again. It couldn't be stabilized. Since Lei Xingfeng never had a secret door, he didn't know how to use one. But he was sure of one thing, and that was that the founder's secret door wouldn't work either. Feng Qinzong's face became even paler. He muttered to himself, Why is it like this? He was waiting for Wu Yang to open the door with full confidence so that he could get Gucci and Lazi out. Who knew that the door wouldn't open at all? Wu Yang sighed. What a powerful forbidden area. I can't open the door at all. Lei Xingfeng thought for a while. Why can't it open? Founder, did you use yin rings to activate it? Wu Yang said, Yeah, 20 yin rings at a time. I used 40 yin rings just now, but I still can't open it. Lei Xingfeng said, Can we use the sky evolution crystal? Wu Yang slapped his head. Yeah, I'll try. Soon, the door opened again. This time, it didn't disappear. It was just that the door was right in front of them, but they couldn't enter. Wu Yang said, We can't do it here. We'd better go in. If we get closer to the door, we might have a chance. Little Feng, take us there. Feng Qinzong seemed to be relieved. Okay, follow me. The three of them quickly walked towards the forbidden area. Wu Yang said, What's wrong with little Gucci? It's not like he doesn't know how dangerous the forbidden area is. Especially a big forbidden area like this. Don't even talk about going in deep. Even moving around the periphery requires extreme caution. How dare he come into contact with such a dangerous place? Isn't he looking for death? Feng Qinzong didn't know how to answer. After a while, he said, It's my fault. Master, I went the wrong way. When I realized something was wrong, I sent out the signal. Master and senior brother Lazi did it to save me. Wu Yang smiled bitterly. He said to Lei Xingfeng, Feng, this is a newbie. Did he see something good and couldn't help but go in? Feng Shenzong was surprised. How did you know? Wu Yang said, nonsense. 80% of the people who die in the forbidden area die like this. Little Feng, it wasn't easy for you to become a monarch. We hope you can go one step further. That's why we brought you to the outer realm. You used to be very steady. How could you be so rash this time? Feng Shenzong's face turned red. Master this. I saw that a Feng got so many good things, so I wanted to show off. He was very honest and said whatever was on his mind. Lei Xingfeng said, Little martial uncle, if you want to show off, that's fine. But if you also show off Master and martial uncle Lotzi, that's a big problem. Feng Shenzong's face turned even redder. He smiled bitterly. Feng, I'm not blaming you. It's just that when I'm with you, even a monarch like me feels powerless. Wu Yang said, you don't have to be envious. A Feng is a junior. To have a Feng's good luck is our good fortune. You're a senior now. You have to protect a Feng, understand? Feng Shenzong nodded. Yes, master. I will protect a Feng. Wu Yang said, what did you see that made you lose your mind? Feng Shenzong said, soul-grasping flower. Hiss, Wu Yang and Lei Xingfeng both sucked in a breath of cold air. This thing was too rare. It was one of the main ingredients for the soul-stabilizing medicine. This thing was hard to find. Wu Yang said, no wonder. Even I couldn't resist this temptation. It was the soul-grasping flower. This kind of treasure really can't be let go. Feng Shenzong was a bit dejected. I didn't even get a single soul-grasping flower, and I'm already in danger. Lei Xingfeng said helplessly, that junior martial uncle, you've lost big. If you had picked the soul-grasping flower, even if Master and martial uncle Lotzi were in danger, Patriarch would have felt some sense of accomplishment. Sigh, you didn't get anything. It's really... He couldn't bring himself to say it. Feng Shenzong said, yes, I'm really unlucky. Wu Yang laughed and scolded. Little bastard, how can you be so greedy? Lei Xingfeng said, Sigh, of course the poor are greedy. Wu Yang couldn't help but shake his head. He said, hey kid, you're a millionaire now, okay? Don't be so stingy, you little money grubber. Lei Xingfeng said, Patriarch, don't talk nonsense. I'm not a millionaire. I'm just a poor man. Wu Yang said helplessly, Fine, you're a poor man. I find it strange that a poor man like you is richer than me. Lei Xingfeng laughed. Yes, Patriarch, you're a poor man. Wu Yang almost vomited blood. Fine, I'm poorer than you. Shouldn't you help the poor? Lei Xingfeng said that Patriarch, if you want to help, you have to find the rich. I'm just a poor man. I can't help, hee. The two bickered for no reason, but Feng Shenzong was dumbfounded. What's going on? Since when can Lei Xingfeng talk to Wu Yang like this? He knew Wu Yang's temper. He rarely joked with the younger generation and was a very serious person. He didn't expect him to bicker with Lei Xingfeng like this. Wu Yang laughed and scolded, little slippery guy. Feng Shenzong said, we're almost there. Wu Yang looked around and said in surprise, we're almost at the forbidden area's defense. Why are you here? Feng Shenzong said, there's a rumor that there's a large amount of treasure at the edge of the forbidden area, so we came to check it out. Wu Yang said, Lotzi said that again? Feng Shenzong nodded. Yes, senior brother Lotzi said it. Wu Yang scolded, that idiot. Although he was scolding Lotzi, in his heart, he admired this somewhat wretched guy. He had a lot of guts. From his behavior after coming in, it was clear that he had been moving alone. Of course, this could very well lead his death here. The three quickly approached the place where Gucci and Lotzi were trapped. They were about 100 meters away. Feng Shenzong stopped and said, Master, look. Wu Yang and Lei Xingfeng both saw a few short trees full of flowers. Lei Xingfeng's first impression was that the flowers were extremely beautiful. It was hard to look away. The flowers looked like peonies. They were the size of bowls and had multiple petals. They had 3 colors, pink, purple, and yellow. They glowed faintly. This was the grasping soul flower. Lei Xingfeng unconsciously took a step forward. Luckily, Wu Yang was beside him. He pulled Lei Xingfeng back and shouted, Don't go. Feng Shenzong said, If you go, you'll be sucked in. Lei Xingfeng immediately broke out in a cold sweat. He didn't know why he had to take a step forward. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. This thing is a bit evil. The surrounding environment was very ordinary. There were no roads, just a lot of plants. However, it was obvious that there were no tall plants around the grasping soulflower tree. There were only weeds. Wu Yang said, "Wait here. I'll open the door." This place was very close to the coordinates. It was not worth it to open the secret door. However, in order to save people, Wu Yang could not care less. Fortunately, he had the sky divination crystal. Even if it consumed a large amount of energy, the sky divination crystal would not have any problems. In an instant, the door opened. However, no one came out. Wu Yang said, "Little Feng, are you sure?" Feng Qinzong's forehead was covered in sweat. He said, I'm sure. What should we do?" Gucci and Lotzi didn't come out. It meant that they had left the coordinates. Chapter 316. Lei Xingfeng said, "I'll go in and take a look." Wu Yang gritted his teeth and said, "Go in and take a look, then come out immediately. Don't move, just shout if you can." Lei Xingfeng nodded and stepped into the secret door. Instantly, he landed on the ground. There was a fog around him, and he could not see anything beyond 2 meters. He shouted, "Master, Uncle Lotzi." His voice was very loud, but because of the white fog, it could not be transmitted outside. It could only vibrate in a small area. Soon, Lei Xingfeng received a response. "We're here." Lei Xingfeng shouted, "Come here quickly. Hurry." "I'll keep shouting. Hurry up. The secret door won't hold for long." If not for the Sky Evolution Crystal, the secret door would have been closed long ago. There was an invisible force that directly interfered with the opening and closing of the secret door. Lei Xingfeng looked at the secret door behind him worriedly. He saw that the light on the secret door was still relatively stable. "Keep shouting." Lei Xingfeng only shouted again and again. The blackbird stretched its head out from under its wings. It said in a daze, "Is there thunder?" "Thunder your head." "Birdbud, help me shout." The blackbird said in a daze, "Shout." "Shout what?" "Caw." Lei Xingfeng said, "Shout." I'm here. The blackbird sneered. "You're so stupid. You're right here. Are you crazy?" This guy was not awake yet, and began to make sarcastic remarks without thinking. Lei Xingfeng turned and stared at the blackbird. The blackbird finally woke up, and it suddenly felt tragic. It stammered, "Ah, caw, caw, caw. Master A. Feng, I'm not awake yet. I'm talking nonsense. Caw, caw, I'll shout. I'll shout." The blackbird opened its mouth and shouted, "The bird is here." Xian Feng almost fell to the ground. These words were preposterous. What followed was the sound of blackbirds, a series of bird cries mixed with the sounds of birds. It was extremely pitiful, causing one's hair to stand on end. "Can't you shout properly? You're shouting so harshly." Blackbird said aggrievedly, "That's what happens when I'm loud. The bird is here." Finally, a figure appeared from the white fog. Gucci said, all right, I found it. Follow me closely." The blackbird raised its neck as if it was singing, "The bird is here." Gucci was stunned. Then he burst into laughter and said, "I was wondering why the sound was so strange. It turned out to be a bird's call. Ha ha ha." Lazi also came out and said, "Oh my God, although there is no danger here, the white fog is too thick. I can't find the way at all. I don't dare to walk around. I'm suffocating." Lei Xingfeng didn't waste time and said, "Master, Marshal Uncle Lotzi, hurry up. Patriarch can't hold on much longer." Saying this, he rushed into the secret door. Gucci and Lazi followed him into the secret door. In an instant, the 3 of them were out of the trap. Yang was sweating profusely. He said, "That's too slow. It'll take me at least a few thousand yin rings." This was calculated based on the number of yin rings he'd need to use, not the actual number. Normally, a secret door would only open for a dozen seconds, at most half a minute before it closed. This time, it took at least 5 minutes. If it wasn't for the support of the Sky Divination Crystal, it wouldn't have lasted that long. It wasn't that Wu Yang couldn't hold on. but his heart ached for the sky divination crystal. This opening was enough to send people to outer space. Gucci said, "Master, there's definitely something good here. It's just that the fog is too thick. We can't see our surroundings, and we don't dare to run around." Lazi said, flatteringly, "Martial uncle, there really is something good. Look, that's this soul-grasping flower. Actually, the tree should be inside. This is just an image, and I don't know how it was reflected. If you get close, you'll be sucked in. But I'm sure this isn't a trap but an exit. We're just panicking." Lei Xingfeng also said, "Patriarch, I don't feel any threat from inside. It's just that the fog is too thick, and I can't see our surroundings. I don't know what's inside." Wu Yang's interest was immediately piqued, because this place was indeed a place that produced top-quality materials. From the soul-grasping flower, this should be a cultivation ground. There should be many rare plants inside, and there might even be ancient plants that have been passed down since ancient times. This was a great tool to exchange for medicine. Every time he asked for medicine, it was a very painful thing. Not only did he have to find all the main ingredients and most of the supplementary ingredients, he also had to pay a large sum of yen rings. Worst of all, he had to wait for the other party to be free, or wait for them to be in a good mood before they would concoct the medicine for him. But if he had a rare plant, or a precious material that others couldn't find, then he could state his conditions and not be so passive. Therefore, precious plant materials were also things that Wu Yang was interested in. Even if he didn't use them, they were worth it as treasures. Wu Yang said, "All right, I'm convinced. Tell me, what did you find?" Although he had used up some sky divination crystals, he had also made one thing clear. Entering and exiting wasn't a problem. Since entering and exiting wasn't a problem, then exploring became a necessity. There were many good things in the forbidden area, and it all depended on whether you had the ability to find them. Everyone found a place to sit down. Wu Yang said, "Why do you think it's a cultivation ground? I thought you couldn't see anything?" Gucci laughed. "I can't see, but I can smell it." Lei Xingfeng slapped his thigh and said, "No wonder. I smelled a very faint fragrance. I was in a hurry to find you, so I didn't pay too much attention." Lazi said, "This is also one of the reasons why I think it's a cultivation ground. There's another important reason." Everyone's attention was immediately attracted to him. Wu Yang laughed. "What's the reason?" Lazi said, "I've been to many forbidden areas. Once you're trapped, you'll be attacked by a powerful force. This time, it's different. There's no attack at all. Other than our panic at the beginning, there was no attack at all. This means we can't set up an attack there, because once we do, everything inside will be destroyed. From this, we can infer that the things inside must be very precious, so precious that even the original people of the forbidden area wouldn't set up an attack." Everyone couldn't help but nod at this inference. They had to admit that although Lazi was very wretched, this guy still had some skill. Wu Yang agreed, "Not bad, not bad. With these two judgments, it's indeed worth exploring. If it's really a cultivation ground of the forbidden area, the harvest this time is really unimaginable." As he spoke, he glanced at Lei Xingfeng. Now, no matter how he looked at Lei Xingfeng, he was very pleasing to the eye. Lei Xingfeng was also excited. Cultivation ground, he knew what kind of place it was. If he was alone, perhaps he wouldn't be very excited, but he had a little sister who needed all kinds of plant materials. What his little sister needed was what he needed, so of course he couldn't give it up. Gucci said, "Let's go in. Let's see what treasures there are." He looked a little high-spirited. Once again, the secret door was opened. This time, everyone didn't hesitate and quickly entered one by one. Wu Yang was the last to enter. It was still filled with fog. Everyone stood in the fog and didn't move for a while. Everyone looked at Wu Yang, waiting for his instructions. After Wu Yang entered, he silently observed. After a while, he nodded. "Yes, there is no sense of danger. But the fog here is too thick. We need to avoid it. I have a feeling that the fog will dissipate at some point." Lei Xingfeng said, "We can't wait that long. Let's feel our way forward first." Wu Yang nodded. "How do we go? Does anyone have any opinions?" Feng Qinzong said, "We can only walk casually. If something is wrong, we could turn back. We can always find the way." Lazi shook his head. "This way, even if there are no problems, there will still be problems. We can't continue like this. There are too many strange places in the forbidden area. If we're not careful, we'll fall for it. Wu Yang said, since we can't walk casually and we don't know the way, we can't just wait here for the fog to dissipate. Gucci glanced at Lei Xingfeng, who seemed to be thinking about something. He said, Afang, what do you think? Lei Xingfeng smiled. It's simple. We'll follow the fragrance of the flowers. Wu Yang couldn't help but praise. Afang is still the clear-headed one. Haha, I forgot about the fragrance of the flowers. That's right. If we follow the fragrance of the flowers, we'll definitely find the right way. If this was a cultivation ground, then the place where the fragrance of the flowers came from must be a cultivation ground. That way, they wouldn't get lost and wouldn't cause any accidents. Feng Qinzong said, that's right. This is the most logical way. Once everyone decided on the method, they had plenty of ways to find the source of the fragrance. After walking for about 10 minutes, the white fog began to dissipate. There was nothing around them. Lei Xingfeng squatted down and reached out to touch the ground. He found that the ground was made of stone. In other words, the ground here was man-made. The fragrance of the flowers grew stronger. Soon, everyone saw the shadow of a plant. La Zi said excitedly, we seem to be on the right path. Square lattices appeared on the ground. Each lattice was about 4 meters by 4 meters, and each lattice had a plant. In addition to the plants, the soil on the ground was different. Some were black, some were red, and there were even crushed stones used as soil to hold the roots of the plants. Under the crushed stones was liquid. There were all kinds of plants. Even Wu Yang didn't recognize many of them. But as long as it was a plant that he recognized, every single one of them was extremely rare. This really was a cultivation ground. No one was in a hurry to pick the plants. Instead, they followed the signs on the ground and walked down. After a while, the fog completely dissipated. Everyone could finally see the environment clearly. There were many square lattices. One lattice was about 2 to 3 meters away from another. In the crisscrossing lattices, each lattice had 1 or a dozen plants. Many of the plants were in bloom, so there was an extremely strong fragrance. There were many lattices. Lei Xingfeng estimated that there were at least 1,000 of them. However, not every lattice had a plant. Some of them had a mess of plants, and some of them had nothing. Such lattices took up a quarter of the space. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.